Well, hello everyone, and welcome in to our midnight program. We've got Linda James. She is your favorite apostate. Well, it's Aposta Babe. That's what she's known as, and she burns the midnight oil right here on the six screens Tele Network. So let's bring Linda on. Let's see what's on the agenda tonight, and we'll see what she's thinking about. Hello, Linda.
Hi,
Hello,
Rick. How's
Linda.
it going?
Well, it's going good tonight. Lots of people coming through here tonight, Linda. So they're anxious to listen into your program tonight. So anything you're going to be talking about tonight? Well, I see we're having some trouble. We're having some trouble with Linda's mic. I'm not sure what is going on with that.
I do too.
Linda, we're having some trouble. I mean, did
I'm seeing
anything
you kind of
change?
cut out a little bit. No, I'm
Yeah.
full on the internet.
All right. Well, we got you now. So speak nice and close to your
I
phone,
went to
and
Chrome.
we'll be monitoring. Yeah. All right. So, I mean, we do hear you now, but I just want to make sure we have good connection. That's all. Well, let's see what happens. So, Linda, I'm going to duck out of here and I'll be monitoring it and we'll make sure things are going right. But go ahead, take your program away.
Hi, everyone. This is Aposta Babe Linda James, your favorite apostate. It's really good to be here. The last show was pretty interesting. They talked about a whole lot of subjects. That was very orchestrated, and I thought some of that stuff that they talked about was pretty interesting. What I'm doing now is making sure the sound is off on the video that I'm watching thing, making sure the sound is off on that, and to where I can see the live chat. So anyways, let me just try this again. I think I got myself lost there for a minute. Hello, everyone. This is Aposta Babe Linda James, and I'm this that if I keep repeating it over and over and over again, my intention is to brainwash you. But because I tell you that I'm brainwashing you, it's actually ethical because I've let you know, as opposed to when to an organization that never really lets you know that they're going to practice coercive tactics and techniques on you. Now, repetition is something we were familiar with in the organization. When we learned how to do and stuff, they would say, they would use terminology such as repetition for emphasis. So, I always tell you I'm your favorite apostate, because that's for emphasis. So there's that. And anyways, I do see some chat. This is funny. Hi, Kurt. How are you?
Hey,
Yes, how are you?
Sorry to interrupt you. Hi. I'm hearing a lot of background noise. I don't know if it's just my phone or do you hear it at your place?
Well, I've got a few fans going, so I turned one down.
Okay. Anyway, I thought I'd bring that up, and sorry for the interruption. I'm on a *6 mute, and I'll talk with you later. All right.
Do you hear a difference? Somebody asked on the chat, is this the original informant? No, I'm not the original informant. I could never walk in her shoes. She was one of a kind. And on Sundays when I used to watch her, I had very many opinions on different shows she would do. Some were just a good time. Some she would rant. Some she would get very technical on things that she researched. She was one of a kind. And I could never fill her shoes, nor would I want to. But she is her own unique self, and I am not informant. There was a few characteristics about her that some found very annoying, and I actually admired because she did not take "shut the hell up" as a reply that she was willing to accept, and that I applaud her for, because she just did not. And being born a child of nation, having a voice is actually a very tough thing. I've just celebrated my first apostate birthday. Oh, how cool, Gary! Yay! That is so amazing. Apostate birthdays are the best, and let me just tell you, you can do whatever you want. You can make them, like, you can celebrate a whole week. You can celebrate the whole month. It's we didn't grow up with holidays and such to where we have established traditions, so we actually get to decide what traditions and rituals we want to do. Hi, John. Good to see you here. So you get to do it however you want. You can have a cupcake. You can have a birthday cookie. You can have a birthday, squash. I don't care. You
Hey, Linda, I just want to step
you
in
do
here
you
for a
want,
sec.
and
I want to step on here for a second. I just want you to, you're coming through
sure.
okay. You're coming through okay, but you want to be very careful with your hands touching your whatever you're using, your device. I think by touching it or even banging on the table or touching the table, we're picking up a lot of background noise for some reason on YouTube. I'm not sure why. Yeah,
Yeah, and I'm not hearing it. Kurt just said that.
yeah.
Audience, are you hearing the background noise too? I'm hoping
Yeah,
to
Yes, I
troubleshoot.
hear a blowing sound, and I think maybe somebody is walking outside and they haven't hit *6. I don't know. Or is
no,
it your
it's
time? I
it's
don't know.
nothing to do with that. But no, what it is
I
that
might have.
we have
I
that
can.
trouble every Saturday night. I don't know why it is, but it's not. We can hear you, but boy, we'd love to hear you so much better. There's like a lot of background noise going on, just static in the background. It's that way pretty much all the time. You're not on
I've
headphones.
listened to the shows. No, I'm not on headphones. I have a fan going on across, behind this computer. I can go turn that down or off.
I don't think it's the fan. I don't think it's the fan, but
There's absolutely nobody here. It's
well, we'll try just turn the fan off for a second. Let's see if it is that.
Hey, Rick,
Yeah.
this is Kurt. I have been on *6 mute and also my phone muted, but I'm going to go ahead and hang up on this phone and just listen to YouTube for a while and see if anything improves.
Yeah,
Okay?
yeah, it's I really would like to. I mean, Apostle Baby has a really good program, so I want to get it right. I really want to get the sound right. Okay, so
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and we'll experiment. I'm going to get off this phone completely and just listen to YouTube. I got
all right.
YouTube muted.
I
But I'm going to listen to her on YouTube for a while.
Okay, Linda, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. How
Oh,
is it at my place?
that's 1,000 times better. 1,000 times. But must have been the fan. I hate to have you. I like to have you keep cool, but geez, I'll tell you, it's the fan that was causing. Is it hot there or what?
When I get ready, I get heated up because, I'm hot that way. I'm actually very hot-blooded, so I do get overheated super easily. So I do like having fans on all the time, even though the weather here is not that hot. But I have a fan over me.
All right. Well, it's
Fan here
1,000.
this side of me.
It's 1,000 times better. It's 1,000 times better. But
Okay.
I mean, if you get too hot, turn it back on. But we can live with a little static. But that's 1,000. Maybe that's. Do you use the fan most of the time on your broadcast?
I have the last couple of 3-4 times. Yes.
Yeah, that might be the issue. It's so much clearer right now. But geez, I don't want you to roast either. I know it's hot, but it's so
Yeah.
much better. We can hear you so much better. But if it gets too hot, put the fan back on. We won't care. Okay.
Okay. And,
Hey,
and then I've listened to the shows. Who's this?
Linda, is there any chance you've got it on speakerphone? Is that maybe why? It sounds like you're in a really big room. Maybe it's like a large
Well,
room sound.
I'm using my computer,
Yes.
so I'm not using a microphone with this computer.
Well, we're all right now, Linda. That this is a lot better than it was. It's really good now. So I wouldn't do anything, but I hate to have you roast. If it gets too hot, put the fan back on. But right now, you're doing good.
Okay. But thank you, Angela. Um, I understand what you mean. It sounds like I'm in a big room. That makes sense. Yeah, I know that kind of a sound. Sometimes when you're in a big room, you can get what is called. You could sing a cappella and get what's the word I'm looking for? Anyways, I've lost it.
Well, no, it's
a lot
the
of times
acoustic. The
Thank you.
acoustics.
Acoustics. Thank you. Acoustics. A lot of times you get to experience that in a bathroom. They have the best acoustics. And what's so cool about that is when you sing or play an instrument, there's a bit of vibration that happens because of the room that you're in. And it gives it a fullness that's really unique. But hearing Angela say, it almost sounds like I'm standing at the other end of the room, you know? But I'm going to try to project a little bit more and speak a little bit louder, and hopefully that helps. This week I went to see my doctor, my psychiatrist, because I do take meds. I am med compliant because I'm absolutely nuts. And I blame all of it on the Watchtower and my mother and whoever else I can blame it on. But to be honest, part of it is probably, and being sensitive and intuitive and all that stuff. But the trauma from my childhood, I do think contributes to some of my, the reasons why I do take meds. And I didn't start until I was 30. I was actually terrified to get on meds. But anyways, back to today, this week. I was getting switched over to another psychiatrist. And the reason I'm telling you about this is because this has never happened to me before. I explained to her that I grew up in a cult. I even told her I'd get to do this show on the weekends, and that I love doing it. And that usually when I'm dealing with a therapist, which she's a psychiatrist, I have a hard time because a lot of therapists don't get it. They just don't get it. And I don't remember all of the words that she said, but she said like a few simple statements that really said that she got it. Like I was so impressed. I was so impressed that she knew exactly what I was talking about, and I knew that she knew. And my insurance before and said, look, at my therapist that I went to last time is a really awesome therapist, but I sent her a video to watch to educate her on cults. Okay. But she gave me a call and said, if I have any extra time, I'm going to spend it with my kids. So I understand that. She's making her kids a priority. That's great. But she's not making, educating herself in the field of being in a cult. And I understand that. So I asked for if there's anybody there that specializes in, healing and stuff for someone who has been in a cult. And they really don't have anybody. And what I was told is that I could get a note from my therapist and ask for outside help. So as I was telling my psychiatrist with this, she's like, I'm going to set that up for you. And I'm like, oh my God, thank you. So who knows who I'm going to get next for a therapist. And I've gone to different therapists over the years, and I am a grand promoter of therapists. And I look at it like this. It's an hour or 45 minutes, half hour, whatever it is, set aside just for you to talk about things that are holding you back in life, or things that have been successes, things that you've put into action that work, things that you've put into action that doesn't work, and you don't understand why, and it's set aside for you, and you deserve it. It's not selfish to have that time set aside for you, either weekly or monthly, or however whatever your insurance costs. And by the way, there's something else called Mimi, which you can get free. You can see a therapist for free through that. So what I will do is put it in the comment. I'll put the name of it in the first comment underneath this video. And you can look up the link and find many different resources. So there's that. But anyways, I was super thrilled. I found a psychiatrist that actually gets it. I knew she got it. It was something I never experienced, and it just gave me such peace of mind. And she's going to, whatever it is she has to put in, for me to get some outside help. So evidently I'm going to have a larger group of therapists to choose from. So I'm looking forward to that, and I promote it, and I deserve it, and you do too. And it's really supposed to be a form of self-care, to have, because what has happened to us during our time of being in the organization, it does affect us mentally. Okay. Primarily, being in cults, much like the Watchtower, it tends to lead people in a place of schizophrenia. And I'm not real sure why or how, but this is something I've seen over and over and over and over and over again. I'm not saying if you've been in a cult, you're going to have schizophrenia. I'm saying like some of the worst cases have been schizophrenia. You know, Dan Clark, and he has gone on here and talked about his mother having schizophrenia. Could that have been genetic? I think it is most of the time, but also too, it doesn't usually show the beginning of your 20s. So between 20 and 25, it'll start to show up. So, which is most things that are genetically that you are inheriting through genes show up about in your teens. Somewhere in your teen years, it'll start to show up. But this starts, schizophrenia usually starts between 20 and 25. And there's that. So I'm really into talking about what some of the coercive techniques and tactics that were used on us that lead to cognitive dissonance, which is where you can't make sense of something because you have two contradicting teachings in your head that don't cancel each other out, and you want to make sense of both of them, and they literally make you so uncomfortable that you have to figure it out so that you can have a sense of well-being. It's almost like having your equilibrium off, and having vertigo. It's that uncomfortable. So what I've noticed is that if someone can promote someone else to do actions that promote the belief system, then their mindset has to be in such a way that it will agree with it. And that's what happens when an unbaptized publisher goes out door to door. So if you're out selling it or promoting it, your mind has to be in a place of believing it, okay? Whether you do or not, unless you're a true con person and can just lie without any, without affecting you at all, and just be a true con person, it will affect your conscience. So it makes it where you will tend to believe it. Makes sense. So that shift happens. And I believe that's part of the, putting, having people be an unbaptized publisher before they a baptized quote, member, which comes today, which any, and that way, pretty much, if you're selling, like I'm a hairdresser, okay, so I used to promote products that went with what I did to someone's hair. And the people from the companies, such as Redken or Bedhead or, these different brands, people would come from these places and teach us about the product. And we got to use the product, or else we watched a demonstration of them doing hair, the hair colors with the hair products. and we got to see the results or get our own hands in it and make the results happen ourselves. Once we saw these things, we could sell them. But if we didn't see these things, I wasn't going to be convinced and sell them. So that was very smart in the hair care industry to let us know their products that I could use in the salon and the products that I would want to give them that would promote their hair to look as best as possible for as long as possible. So, I mean, the prices were definitely higher than what we could get at the supermarket. So I needed to have a good reason to tell them why, and I actually used to, when I would put the combination of things, say a shampoo and conditioner, and then maybe a once a week other thing, there's hair products that you use. For instance, gel keeps your hair where you style it, but mousse thickens the hair shaft. So those two things do two different. And the hair product, after it's washed and conditioned and just before you dry it and style it, you put in hair product, you have to know what you're putting in the hair and why. And I know I'm going on and on, but I had to be okay with it to use it on their hair. I had to be familiar with it to be able to promote it. So when we went door to door, I'm relating this to when we went door to door, whether we knew enough about it or not, we had to convince ourselves that we truly believed it. And what we were selling was paradise. And that's how we had to get, we were told that it's mandated, that it was expected, that God expected us to do this. And so we did it out of obedience, That's what I'm talking about. So being that the leadership took a position that when they made decisions for us, they were in a position of being more qualified to make better decisions for us than we were. So they had to take us to a place where gaslight us. And gaslighting is something that when someone gaslights someone else, they have to convince that someone else that they don't know what is best for them. The other person has to convince them, I know what's best for you. Just follow my directions and you're going to be okay. And make fun of them or intimidate them when they make decisions themselves and maybe make a mistake or two. So they get them to a place to where they only rely on the directions of the person that's doing the gaslighting. This is what the governing body, the leadership of the Watchtower has done, and other high-controlled, high-demand groups will do. There's intimidation, there's mocking, and what it all comes down to is you becoming dependent on this group and getting to a place of thinking that you're not okay by yourself, that you making your own decisions with your own reasoning skills is safe. They want you to believe it's unsafe. So what I mean by dependent is to where you don't think you can actually live without them. And that's where they take us. Somebody just came in and said, what is everybody talking about? Okay. Anyone have any news about Toni Morris? Rick, would you please jump back on? Let's talk about Top Shelf Tony. What became of him? Okay. So, audience on YouTube, is there another subject that you would rather us talk about?
Yes, I want to know how often should you wash your hair?
That's a really good question. I do wash my hair about every 2 to 3 days. There was a thing back in the day of my grandmother's time, and she was a hairdresser too. And there used to be terminology. I just wash my hair and I can't do a thing with it. And that's because their hair had not gotten their natural oils into their hair. So it was very flyaway. Or they they at that time their lifestyle was going into the beauty shop every single week. Wow. This is informant from years ago. If people are aware or were around, are you claiming that I'm informant still? Okay. Mimi said, Linda, I heard you say before about your therapist. I just wanted to suggest that you get someone who specializes in PTSD. Thank you. I appreciate that, Mimi. Yes, PTSD or complex PTSD. So, Grace, why did you ask me that question about how often I wash my hair?
Yes. The reason is because, no, it wasn't you specifically. I wanted to know just in general. Maybe my English is not so good. I mean, because some people say wash it this often, and other people say wash it this often. And I think it's not a consensus, even in people who know a lot about hair. They give different answers, and it's just really confusing about how often a person should wash their hair.
Yeah. And you know, my hair happens to be very thin and it's naturally curly, but somebody with thicker hair might wash their hair. They might have more days in between. Some people are an everyday wash their hair kind of people. That's what's done. This audience is like, this is definitely her. Y'all are convinced that I'm informant. That is hilarious. Laugh all you want, you say still. It was at least 4 years ago I said this. Wow, is it you? Yeah, I'm not informant. She was also known as Skelly. Could be an informant. Want to be? No. I want to be my own unique self. Hi, how are you?
Yes, be your own unique self. I'm fine. How are you? You're doing very well, Linda. Very well. This is a very interesting topic. I don't hear these topics really hardly ever, but this is a very interesting topic you're discussing. Very unusual, but okay. Very good. Very good. I hope it's fun.
Thank you.
I just want to say hello, Linda. This is Mark Taft, as you may know, from the guy from Chicago. No, I know I haven't been on too much for a very long time, but I promised Rick, if I had just a few minutes, I would call in every week to say hello and touch base with everyone, and and give any current information I might have, or anything positive to say, or just to say hello, either or. So I just want to do that. I hope you're doing very well in every good way. And I'm sorry if you're still
the latest with you
on your life.
I'm sorry, say that again, please.
All the very best.
Thank you. You were saying you were sorry about what?
Best. I'm sorry we've been through some very hard times in the last few years and all that. I know it's been very difficult. I know it's been a struggle, that it has been for all of us ex-witnesses. No question about that. Because I know we've been, you and everyone, even including myself, we've all been very, very hurt by the Watchtower and the Jehovah's Witnesses. They have just destroyed us. They've ruined our lives. But if I may say this, Linda, and a lot of people have told me this, including Rick, that you still have to move on with life and be the captain of your own ship and lead your own life and move on some way, somehow. I know it's not easy. It's very difficult. I get that, but we got to stay stuck. We got to move forward and move on. We really have to. So if that means, and sometimes, Jack, and this is hard, we can't, either find a job or we can't work an actual job at all. No, don't let it get that bad. It's very important that we get employment and stick with it and are able to actually work an actual job, and and not allow our past to destroy us, like it has. Does that make sense to you?
Mm-hmm. It does. And there have been some ex-Jehovah's Witnesses that I know of that have gone back to school, at an older age.
Good.
And I'm inspired by them.
Cool. You get your education. Yeah, that's very inspiring. Get an education, get a good job, get a career, get out there, make a life for yourself, travel the world. Make your own new family. Do what you feel you're happy with doing. And I mean, I always encourage people to stay close to God, stay close to Jesus Christ, read your Bible, study your Bible, try to have good Christian friends, but you can have other friends too. They don't all have to be just Christian friends. At least I wouldn't think. Just make sure that they're good friends. They're very good friends, and get out there, live your life, and enjoy life. As much as you possibly can. That's real important. You want to celebrate holidays? Go for it. Celebrate holidays. Celebrate your birthday. Do all of that, and do a job, a career that you like, you love. Go for it. Get your training. Do what you need to do. Never mind the witnesses. They destroyed everyone. Where they got people sitting at rock bottom. And I just want to let you know, Linda, I have a very sad announcement. And hopefully, if Rick is listening, he'll hear this. That I did mention. This is probably like 2 years ago. That there was two gentlemen who were African American, black friends of mine, and Jehovah's Witnesses, and one of them, they were like a father-son, type people, and they were good people, but then they turned on me as soon as I decided I was backing out of the Jehovah's Witnesses for good. They turned against me almost immediately and threw me under the bus. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the father's name was Ralph Dunlap. He passed away in February, just recently, of diabetes. He had diabetes for many years. He wound up in a nursing home, had both legs amputated, and he suffered from there on.
Wow.
He's been suffering for many years, and now he's really suffering. Now he just died in February. Now his son Darren also had diabetes, which I didn't know about. And Darren right now, who's in his 50s, he's suffering with diabetes. He's got congestive heart failure. And he's had it for several years. He's been unable to work at all for several years now. And on top of it, now Darren's in a nursing home, and his time is limited, very limited. He may not be around much longer. In fact, most likely he won't be around much longer. Now he's on his way out, and he's dying too. And the Jehovah's Witnesses did him no good in any way whatsoever. On top of that, Darren was married 3 times and divorced 3 times. And while he was a witness. So I can't see any good about the Jehovah's Witnesses of what favors they did for these 2 guys, or anyone for that matter. And it's just kind of sad now to see that they're the ones who are now going to pay the ultimate price for staying with the Jehovah's Witnesses. So it's very sad.
I'm sorry to hear this. And they sounded like when you were in the organization, they were good friends of yours, and
they were. They were friends, but then they when I started backing out and disagreeing with the Jehovah's Witnesses and just not agreeing with the Watchtower and questioning things and liking certain things they didn't like, they didn't agree with, they didn't like this type of music, they didn't like these type of books or type of TV shows or films I watched. Well, okay, but so what? That doesn't mean you turn against your own good friend and just throw them under the bus, but that's what they did. They just threw me right under the bus and said, oh, you want to follow Jehovah? You don't want to stay close to Jehovah? You don't want to be a Jehovah's Witness? You don't want to and serve Jehovah? Goodbye. It was just, and I would still try and stay in touch with them and say, hey, come on, because they had moved out to Minnesota, and I say, but they would come back to visit, pretty often. I say, hey, let's hook up, let's do some stuff, let's hang out, let's do some things and visit and everything. And they make up every excuse in the book not to hook up with me, not to have anything to do with me, not to meet up. No, every excuse they give me to avoid me. That was really sad, and I knew what they were doing. They were just everything they could avoid by giving every excuse there was in the book not to meet up with me when they came back into town. So that was a real game they were playing with me. And they don't care how much it hurt me. What did they care?
And it's so sad because they're making up a story and that they're lying to you. It's so...
They did.
And so,
they did. They lied to me every time. Yeah, it was always an excuse they'd give me so they could come back and see everybody else when they came back into town to visit. That was fine, but they couldn't see me. They couldn't hook up with and meet up with me. They couldn't do that at all. Everyone else is fine, but not me. I don't count, right?
Were these bad guys?
Very.
Were they bad people?
Organization. Hi. Is this Brian?
Brian.
Oh, hi, Brian. Yes. Sir, I will. Yeah, I appreciate you asking. Well, they weren't necessarily bad guys. They were my friends at one point, but then they obviously turned into bad guys when they shut me out and told me to kiss off, and they wanted nothing more to do with me.
Yeah. Well, but we all knew that ahead of time. True.
Well, I wasn't expecting that. See, I was still in high school. I didn't know. I didn't think they would do that. I didn't think they'd do it all. So I didn't know any better. I was in high school. I didn't know. I still thought they would be my friends no matter what. I thought no matter, they'll be my friends no matter what, if I'm not a witness. See, I was still in high school. I was still a teenager. So, I didn't know.
When did you walk up? When did you quit doing being a witness? About that time in high school?
Yeah, exactly. When I was 16 years old, I said, I'm done. I've had it. This is just too much. I'm done. I'm out. And but I still wanted to be friends with these guys because I thought that was still okay. I thought, no big deal. We can still be friends. I thought that was perfectly fine and perfectly okay. We could still be friends no matter what, and we'd be good. But that was not going to happen.
Yeah. How long had you been a witness when you were 16?
My whole life, pretty much a whole life. From the very beginning. But I didn't know how. You got to understand, when you're a teenager and you're a kid in high school, you don't know exactly 100% how the Watchtower works and how the witnesses work. You got the idea. You think, well, they're if they're really true, people in any way whatsoever, or real Christians in any way whatsoever, they'll still be your friend. But no, boom, it's like goodbye almost immediately or immediately. Like, and then they give me every bull crap excuse not to be my friend, not to want to visit me, not to want to associate, not to want to hang out. And I was trying to explain to them, come on, guys, I'm your friend.
Didn't they ever tell you, hey pal, well, I think you said it. They did tell you you don't want to be, in their mind, when they say you don't want to be, you want to leave Jehovah, what they're saying, some other Christian church might say, well, you don't want to be a Christian anymore. That's basically what they're saying.
Well, exactly. Right. That's what they were specifically saying. And I'm saying, no, I wasn't really saying that. I was just saying, I don't agree with all these teachings. I don't agree with all these rules and regulations. I don't agree with all these restrictions. I don't agree with all this control, and all this bullying, controlling everyone. That's not fair.
I understand it. It's funny. At 16, that was when I decided to go in and get all this. I wanted all this control. I wanted somebody to tell me that there was such a thing as ultimate reality, ultimate truth. So I relished in that. I guess it took a little while for me to say, okay, well, I can't do this, I can't do that. Okay, that's all right. If I want to join this club, I guess they got some rules. Okay, I'll follow the rules. But I just didn't realize, when I first heard your story, I just didn't realize how young you were. And you're right. Some of the kids that I knew when I was 16 and 17 who were witnesses, they, to my mind, after I got to know them, and then I realized, they were harboring thoughts of how the hell do I get out of here? They wouldn't have said it like that exactly, but some of them were harboring that thought. And I didn't quite get that. To my mind, why would anybody want to leave this? This is paradise on earth. This is the greatest thing since sliced bread. That's how I viewed it at the time. I thought it was wonderful. And it took a few years before there were some rules that I didn't like that I thought were BS. But I was just curious because you sounded quite a bit older than 16, which I'm sure it's. So this is going back about 20 years then or so, right?
Something like that. Yeah, around that. And it just, like I said, I didn't know, and I'm thinking, because I could see a lot of the rules and regulation, all this pressure, like real brutal pressure they put on their people, and were putting on me, and all this bullying, and this abuse, all this abuse is going on. I'd had enough. This was too much, and I already been through enough because I had a very abusive alcoholic father, and my mother was very abusive, and she was very controlling. And then, you know, I'm dealing with all these other abusive people, and some of those elders, I'm going to tell you flat out now, I have no respect for at all. Those elders were jerks. Total 100% jerks.
Now that I hear you talking, I do remember you mentioning that the parents were dysfunctional in your life. So that would make it bad.
That makes it real bad.
How old are you now?
Well, I don't really talk about that.
Oh, okay.
I don't tell anybody. I'll let people guess my age, and if they whatever they get.
Say he's a mature man. You know.
My age anymore.
All right. No,
sorry.
no, it's fine.
I'm sorry. If you want to look it up on the internet, that's fine.
No, I'm sorry. I'm not laughing at. I'm laughing at the whole idea. Like I understand that. Like I don't. So far, except for a few people, nobody on Six Screens knows my real name.
Okay, that's fine.
Because way back when I first started to listen to Six Screens, like 10 or 12, 13, whatever it was years ago, probably about 2009. So that's something like that.
Right.
I didn't know when I can tell you, first time I tuned in on one of Rick's live programs, I thought, holy mackerel, these people are absolutely whacked. Yes. I couldn't believe what I was. I wasn't a witness at the time.
Yes,
yeah, Linda will testify. And I had never heard anything like this. I had been out like for years. I'd already been gone for 20 some years or whatever. But
that's good.
I like to say that we XJWs put the fun in dysfunctional. Because we got stuff, we got issues. We get
something like that, yeah.
You know, and we don't know what's going on.
I wasn't sure. I said to myself, man, I don't know if I want anybody knowing who I am after I talk to these folks. Who knows what's going to happen? Right. So I've always kept an online identity just because
very good.
value my privacy.
Very good.
But anyway, that's interesting. Yeah, you now you sound like you're about. Actually, you sound like you're about 30. I hope that's a compliment.
Thank you, sir. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. That's a major compliment. It's a major compliment. Thank you so very much. I could be older, but I don't tell people that.
Anyway, I was just curious. I wasn't sure if you had caught on to what the rules were ahead of time. Now, when you're a convert in, it's you probably are starting to look at these rules and you're saying, okay, I'm a teenage boy. I've been spending the last number of years trying to see how many girls I can impress.
Hook up with. And impress
that way.
Sure.
Impress.
Or hook up with them. Well, absolutely. Absolutely. Most guys are thinking about that.
How good is my slap shot in hockey? And how many beers can I scarf?
No, not that. No, not that. That was one thing. No. That's what I avoided. I avoided alcohol. Alcohol was not my thing. That was not my thing at all.
Not me.
But I see what you're saying. How athletic you are.
Yeah, I don't drink either.
At that age, I was chasing girls, smoking pot, and drinking lots of beer, and playing sports. So anyway, then you join up, and you all of a sudden people are saying, "Well, no more smoking cigarettes, no more smoking pot, no more taking LSD, no more fornicating." What are you guys talking about at first? Then you begin to say, "Okay, they take this religion business seriously." Okay, never heard of that before.
Right.
And on and on. So that's what is attractive to somebody who's converting in, is the exact same thing that eventually, the problem, of course, is there are some rules that are inconsistent, and eventually you have to call call them on it. And when once you've been baptized and you've decided in earnest prayer, even that this is the way, then you find yourself in a dilemma. How do I?
Yes.
In fact, I think Linda used the term earlier as she was introducing the program, cognitive dissonance, and you begin to have that problem of, okay, some of the stuff I can't accept. They're dead wrong on a few things, and it's almost like you've got a scale of justice there, and you're putting little trinkets on each side. They're screwed up on this, but they're okay on that. I got to do this. That's right. But eventually, if you're honest, you get to the point where the one side outweighs, and you gotta split.
That's right. I agree with you, sir.
Anyway, okay. That's great. I remember when you had a show. You had a show on every week for
a couple years ago.
There. Yeah, that's
for a little while, yeah. But then things changed, and Rick got much busier, and I had to respect that because he had more people coming on the show. But that was still good for him on his behalf. He's got a lot more people coming on and more people leaving the Watchtower. That's good. That's really good, and I'm impressed. I'm real impressed. I'd say the more people who leave, I'm going to cheer for them. I'm going to cheer for them every step of the way, 100% and beyond that. Once they get the hell out of the Watchtower for good and forever. Nobody should ever, ever, ever go back. You go back, they're just asking for trouble. Don't even bother. It's going to be a major mistake to go back. And then
there's no point.
There's no point, but sometimes people do.
See the point? Well, I suppose there's a few people that there's a point. But basically, the Watchtower Society is a apocalyptic Christian church.
Yes, it is.
From the beginning, has said that we are at the dawn of the millennium, and it's time to get ready for that. And
the last days.
The problem is that. For one thing, if you set an actual date for the end and then it doesn't happen, one of the other protocols of Christianity is that you tell the truth. And if you set the date and it didn't happen and you're not willing to own up to that, and you lie about it afterwards, then you're like Macbeth. Every time that happens, your pants get dirtier with blood, and next thing you know, you're drowning in it. And that's what's happened with them. Yes. And it's just it's a situation where we don't know. I mean, if Christianity is true, of course, which I believe it is, Christianity is, by its very nature, waiting for the Lord to return. But the problem is that for whatever reason, he's taking a long time to do that, and we need to get the right balance. They don't have it, obviously, because I was there for 1975, and
a lot of people were.
And the point is that we were super hyped. I don't know if you were old enough to experience 1975, but in the
barely
in the 5 years leading up, particularly the last 5 years leading up to 1975, it was super hyped. We did our darndest, all of us, to keep our faith strong and believe in it, and read up on everything. And it was preached from the platform all the time that this was going to happen, and we should be ready, and we should be on the service, helping people escape from destruction and all of that. So, from a psychological standpoint, that it was a quite an experience to actually be in a doomsday cult, which is really what it ended up being. It's kind of when I look back and when I look back and think about it, it's sort of like how could you be that much? It's sort of like they make movies about people in doomsday cults. Basically, that's what we were in, and it does take a few years to get your head screwed on properly in the aftermath. So anyway, I just was curious. I was just curious. I couldn't remember what your experience was and when it was that you quit going. So now I get it, and so that's my. That's the end of my interruption of the conversation. You guys go ahead.
No problem. No problem. Very good. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, Miss. Still there, Linda?
I am.
Okay, Linda. Yeah. Sorry for the interruption, but yeah, I just like I said, Linda, I want to say how you were doing. I love it
when Brian comes in.
Yeah, of course. He's very, very, very encouraging, very inspiring person. But yes, Linda, like I said, I was saying hello because I know it's been a very long time. I know I backed out for a while. But I knew Rick was getting very, very busy with the program, so there wasn't really much room for me anymore. But that was okay because I know he had opportunities to other people, which is good. And I can see that Six Screens show has really reached out to a lot of ex-witnesses and helped them tremendously. And I'm really impressed. And Rick's doing one hell of a great job in every way, 100%, in fact, 200%. Rick, we got to give him 500 stars.
Yes, the stars.
Absolutely.
Woo! Love the stars. I forgot about those.
Rick has done a phenomenal job. 500% for that matter. I'm dead serious. 500%. He's done great. His wife Sue has done extremely well too. They both have really reached out to people and helped them. And I also give a lot of credit to Dan and Angela Clark for reaching out and helping people. They have done a totally awesome job too, in every way, 100%. I mean, hey, we got to give these people a lot of very good credit, Linda. They've really, really gone out of their way to help people where we know most people in the world would not even consider it. They won't even think about it. They wouldn't even cross their mind. So, I was so happy to learn when Rick's show existed that this could be something where he could reach out to other people and help them, including myself, who suffered just severely at the hands of the Watchtower and the governing body and the Jehovah's Witnesses. And it makes me sick to my stomach, Linda, and I'm sure you know this, the Jehovah's Witnesses say how wonderful, good people they are, how peaceful they are. Oh, we're just wonderful, good people. No, we don't bully people. We don't encourage bullying. We don't abuse people. We never encourage that. We talk against that. We preach against that. Now, that's a lie. That is a doggone lie. Would you agree, Linda?
I do hear what you're talking about, and it is my belief that most of the Jehovah's Witness rank and file are good people, and they are simply trying to live a life that's pleasing to Jehovah. But what happens is the members are taught.
You see my point. You see my point, don't you?
I do.
Do you see my point? Okay, very good. That's the point I'm making. They can say whatever they want. Doesn't mean it's actually the truth, though. I mean, I just wasn't seeing any of that. There was just too many hypocrites, all this hypocrisy going on and everything. And it was just way too much. So, I guess in a way, I see why you don't totally agree, but from what I experienced, that's the way I saw it. Okay.
And you need to give Linda James another 500 stars because she is doing an excellent job also.
That's so cool. I love the stars. Mark shows up as stars. Yay.
Absolutely. I totally agree 100%. But yeah, you're doing a great job too, Linda, and everyone appreciates that too. So we always think of your good help support as well.
I just wanted to say to the audience, those that are in the audience accusing me of being informant is really not an insult. She was a badass. And if you want to think I'm informant, go for it. I don't really care. But it's not an insult to me to call me informant because she was a badass, okay? And
very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Well, you're doing a good job with it.
We said something about you changing your photos, but I mean, everybody change photo. When we grow older, maybe at least once a year, everybody change photo on the internet. So how can you complain on that? That's insane.
Yeah. Yeah. Informant never showed her photo on her channel, and she would do her shows ever. So I was surprised. I saw a comment where Carol said that she knows what informant looks like. I'm sitting here going, "You do? I want to see a picture because I've never seen her, but I know the sound of her voice." And there was actually some drama that would happen every couple of years between informant and this one gal named Jill. Now they sounded very similar, but their personalities absolutely opposite. You know, truly opposite. Yes.
Linda,
Yes, Brian.
this is
Yes.
Carol. And
Hi,
those
Carol.
people on YouTube, they need to get a life. Let me tell you.
I agree.
Callie had a show on 6 screens a long time ago. Rick knows what she looks like. I have a picture of her. No way do you look like Scally. It's
Okay.
ridiculous. I wish they'd stop and leave.
Okay, so yeah, I do too, but I don't have the capacity to block them or anything. And again, it's not a I'm not taking it as an insult because
No, I hope this is not upsetting you because they're idiots in there right now. You know.
yeah, I appreciate you coming in. I appreciate you coming in going, I don't know what y'all are talking about.
Of nothing. You know, Rick could clear this up real quick, but he's sleeping right now.
You're right.
Oh, that's why I think the people who pick on Linda also, they know Rick is sleeping, so then they take the advantage of the situation, and that's really annoying.
Mark. Hi, Mark.
Hey,
If
Gray.
that's what you're saying goodbye.
Maybe I could change the subject if you guys want to. I wanted
What
to talk
subject?
about this for a minute. I looked up everything I could for a day or two about Sweden. What was it like to be a witness in Sweden? It seems like a really cool place, and it's like paradise. How could anyone want to become a witness that lives in Sweden? Those people seem so cool, mild-mannered, polite. I don't know how you put up with us rude Americans. Yeah.
I think the worst thing is the cold. Like it's cold, like in a freezer, and then they say you have to wear a skirt. And I'm not an old lady, but I talk to them about old ladies who freeze in the winter. Then they get a urine infection, and again and again and again. And I talked to them, and they couldn't really give me a good answer. And I talked to an overseer also, and I told him, why wear a skirt and things? And he is just like, well, I have to wear a tie, and I think that looks good on you, blah, blah, blah. It wasn't, you couldn't get the straight answer. And one girl, she actually told me that she wanted to wear a skirt because she wanted to make herself pretty in front of Jehovah. I mean,
anything to please Jehovah.
Their social conduct just seems to be so polite, and they give everyone their space, and they don't brag. And I guess they got real high taxes, but it looks like they take care of their cities real good. And man, that place just seems awesome, except for the cold, like you're saying. When I said cool, I meant like they're like American cool, you know, like you guys have a word for it. I forget what it was, but it's an attitude you guys have.
Yes, yes. But I think it's also the more south you go in Sweden, the personality changes, and the more north you go, then the personality changes. And so that's also a thing in Sweden. We are very, it's big differences in the country also. But I mean, yes, we are very polite, and usually we don't talk loud, and I mean, that's just the Swedish way, and maybe I guess I'm a little bit more outspoken than average,
So
I guess. But
you're kind of a wild woman in Sweden, huh?
Flirting with you, Grace. Have a good time with it, girl.
Are you a rebel? Are you a rebel?
well, they didn't like when I complained on things at Jehovah's Witness. That was an issue, actually.
Well, Linda,
I just wanted to say I was thinking of you, and I was trying to find ways to identify a little better with you. So I looked at Sweden. I was surprised how much I didn't know about Sweden. I think I used to get Sweden and Switzerland confused. So yeah, it's a completely different place, huh?
Yes, but I mean, we have, you know, we are the most equal country in the whole world, and United States, they only rank 4th equal country between the sexes, I mean. So, and I noticed there is difference in United States. You have a lot of stay-at-home moms, and we have hardly nobody who stays at home mom in Sweden. I mean, that's like it doesn't really happen in Sweden. It's practically no one. So that's the big difference, I think. But
seems like they got a good government. You know, apparently you guys pay a lot of taxes, but everyone lives real equal, and everything's real clean and polite. Man, I want to go to Sweden. It looks like the paradise to me.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Hey, Linda, I want to come in. I want to come in for 1 second.
On TV.
Sorry, we got to interrupt just a minute. Yes, Rick?
I want to come in, Linda. I know that people are writing here. I'm not asleep. I'm awake here tonight and listening to what's going on. But I just want to inform the audience that, you know, Linda is not informant. That's the name she went by, Scally. I want people to know that. They're writing in here, and for some, I think they're just picking on you, Linda, so don't pay too much attention to it. But she is not. I have to tell you, I know Scally. I know Scally, and Linda is no Scally. Let me tell you that.
No, I'm not. Now. But I thought you know, it doesn't insult me at all, because she was something else. I'll tell you what. And a lot of it was very positive.
Well, I'll tell you what. She had a program here on the 6 screens. I would say maybe 8 years ago, somewhere around there.
I'll have to go back and find those.
But I told her it was the opening program. We had a number of people filling in. It was called Watchtower Behind Closed Doors. And Scally would come on, and she had the program, and she did good, but she started using really bad language. I mean,
now that I do remember about her.
I mean, I'm really bad. I mean,
because like a sailor, yes, she could.
Well, I mean, it was making
that's why I tuned in, Rick.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I could cuss like a sailor, but
I quit listening.
Yeah, but I have to say,
she's not too on the show, you know.
I have to say, and I told her, Scally, you can't use language like that. And I told her that a number of times, but she kept doing it. So I had to cancel the program. So she got really mad at me. But I says, well, I told you what you can't do. You can't use that. She kept dropping the F-bomb. I mean, all the time. I'm saying, no, can't do this. Yeah, I mean, really, it was terrible. So So, anyways, but I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna beat her up badly because, she, at one point, she hated me after she didn't have the program. She really hated me. She accused of us making a ton of money here on the 6 screens, but later she apologized for that. She
Oh,
thought,
okay.
what she thought is that we were making a lot of money with people calling into the program, which is erroneous. We don't make a penny. It cost me $500 a month just to do this. Okay, but she would constantly, Rick, you're making money on this. Why don't you tell the people? But then she found out that we weren't, and she did apologize. So I accepted that. But she was a high profile apostate. She was one of the
Oh,
first.
yeah.
She was one of the first that started exposing the Watchtower. But the poor
And
woman, I mean, had a lot of trouble. Yeah, a lot of problems.
she did her research. She did her research and did her due diligence.
Yeah.
However, it came out of her mouth. The woman knew what she was talking about when she was revealing the Watchtower. And she talked about other people as well. And I would look this stuff up. But I also noticed, if people would come along and talk about stuff and be off, she would inform them that you're off and you don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, she was very.
She would just be like, do your research
was-
and shut the hell up,
Well, she was very, very straightforward. But the
Yes,
thing
yes.
is, if she was on here tonight, if you're listening in, Scally, I'm not going to beat you up. I appreciate the fact you apologized and you acknowledged that, no, I don't make money here on the 6 screens. So if you're on here with us tonight, Scally, speak up. Let the audience know that Linda James is not Scally. Believe me. Really.
Hey Rick, I'm going to retire pretty soon. You sure you don't want to get? I could be your manager, and then we could actually make some money on that.
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, people write me. We don't monetize this. We don't. I have feelings that I came out of the Watchtower. It didn't. I didn't have to pay anybody. Really, I didn't have to pay anybody. Free Minds, Silent Lambs. I really connected with those websites. But
I'm just kind of teasing you.
yeah.
But,
Well, I know what you're saying, Brian. But
I understand. I do remember Scally.
What?
I think I got into a fight with her one night about something, or else she just I couldn't take it. But she did have. It was. There's some spice to her program. I didn't know that she got. I don't know if the right word is canned. I don't know if is canned the right word, Rick, or is that too strong a word?
In reference to what? I'm sorry, I just missed what you said there, Brian.
Well, she didn't. When you told her that no more F-bombs, did she get it? Like, my question was, did she get canned, or did she, or is that too strong of a word?
Well, no, I canned her. I did. I can't. Well,
you kill me, man. You kill me.
But we're
Hey, how long ago were those shows? Are they still? Can you still watch them on YouTube? Are they on YouTube?
I don't think. Well, you probably they're not. We weren't on YouTube at the time. I mean, I do have them in the 6 screens archives here. Yeah.
You're making me want to listen. You're making me want to listen.
Hey, Rick, that brings up another question that this guy just brought up. So, is your SoundCloud account still functional?
Oh yeah, no, we do that, but I don't put as much up there. It's just been we're on YouTube now, so everything gets uploaded on YouTube. SoundCloud, I really.
But I mean, for his interest, I can't. Maybe you weren't on SoundCloud yet when Scally was on, but just for his interest, on Rick's site there is archives. There's some sound archives with some of the really, really old stuff, and then probably around what, Rick, about 2012, 2013 maybe, you started posting everything on SoundCloud for about 4 or 5 years. Right.
Yeah.
And then you went to YouTube. So
right.
Just for the guy that was just asking, you might find him on Rick's SoundCloud account. It's under his name, and then on the website, the older stuff, not all of it, but is most of it still there, right, Rick?
Yeah.
that-
Well,
all that old stuff?
what we did is what I'm in the process of doing right now. We've been doing these programs for 17 years, every Saturday night. Never missed a Saturday night. So we have thousands of programs from Richard Rowie. In fact, we've had 178, 180, somewhere around there, different unique programs here on the 6 screens. Some are still running today, some have not. But what I did, we had a caller that called me, and he told me that, Rick, these programs that you host here are so valuable to people getting out of the witness world. He really emphasized that. He said he wanted to buy me a server that we could save all the programs, every program we ever did, which I still have, and have it in the archives, for years to come, so people could listen into this. So he says, I wanna buy you a server. I says, no, you don't have to buy me anything. I says, we've got it up on. No, he says, I want you to have all of these programs on YouTube and Facebook, and going back years ago to Richard Rowie and the rest of these people. I'd like to have you have them all on there, so someday people can get in there and check it out. So he bought me a $2,000 server. I never asked for a penny. Never ever. You know that. But he insisted that we have this to save all of the different programs we have. So that's what we're in the process of doing right now, is putting all of that up. So if that was up and ready, which it will be probably in 6 months, I'd be able to go right to it right now and play a Scally's program. But there's so many.
So once that's all loaded onto your own server, Rick.
Yep.
Then, like on the website, would a person be able to go to that?
Yes. Yeah, we're gonna have it.
That'll be pretty good.
We're gonna have it so people can listen if they want to every program we ever had.
Will you have a search mechanism on it? Or
Yeah, there will be. There'll be a search mechanism where people can search for certain things, and bingo will pop up. So that's what we're in the process. It's a time project. It's going to take 6 months to do it, but that's what we're working on now. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. Actually, that guy had a good idea.
Yeah, he wanted to do it. He was a man evidently of means, and he said, no, I listened to the 6 screens, and I think it's valuable. I says, listen, don't do it. I says, I don't really think it's necessary. But he says, nope, I want it all on there, and I want video, and it's going to take a lot of bandwidth, and I'm willing to do it for you. So he did it,
Good.
Yeah.
But anyway, currently, just so for the other guys, you might be able to find that stuff on SoundCloud or Rick's older stuff that's archived on the website. It's good, lots of good stuff there. You could sit and binge listen to this stuff for weeks and weeks and weeks. I'm not kidding. I did it.
Well, you know something, Brian. There's people that do it, and that amazes me. That there's people that actually do it, and they really get in there, and I can understand it. I really can. I mean, people leaving the Watchtower, we've been all hurt, you could say, or at least we've been touched by the tentacles to somewhat, and we want to hear what other people have to say about it. And that's one of the reasons why the 6 screens, even on Linda's program here tonight, and having people like you call in, Brian, and Mark earlier, it makes all the difference in the world. We could sit here and bloviate all night long, but when people call in, that's the secret sauce right there. That works,
Well,
I got a question. Sure. I hear Brian. And,
Hi, Kurt. Can you speak up?
Babe. Yeah, I got a question. I say, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
there's trouble. Hey, everybody, warning, 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 alien approaching.
Oh, that's very good. That's very good. No,
Oh my God, so much closer.
Yeah,
Right on.
on the program before, part of it discussed flat Earth. What do you all think about flat Earth? Anybody?
I could tell you something real quick. One place I worked, I just, for some reason, I got everyone into flat Earth, and I was talking to them about it and convincing them. And I was causing a big ruckus at work amongst the guys. I felt like a Jehovah's Witness while I was doing it. I was using the same sort of way of talking and tricking people and getting them worked up, and it was really weird. I'd never felt like a witness like that. Now, I didn't believe in flat Earth. I was just causing trouble and stirring things up. It was really funny. I was like, I was the only one who knew what was going on. But I felt weird. I felt like when I used to go out in service.
Oh, wow.
Right. Yeah, I've never looked into it. It's all over YouTube, so to speak, but it's not much of an interest to me. But I know that.
Well, it'll convince you for a little while. While you're right into it, it all makes sense. But then you turn it off and go outside, and you just realize that's crazy.
Yeah, it sounds like it is to me, but I've never got into research. I know this Santos Bonacci, he became a flat earther a few years back, and Rob Skiba, he died here, I don't know, a year and a half ago or so, but he became a flat earther, and there's quite a bit of it on YouTube. I don't see how that would work with all the you can see a counter argument where they can prove through physics and in different ways that it's not flat, not to mention all the pictures that's been taken. Of course, they look at that as a conspiracy, but I just don't know for certain. But I'm thinking the Earth's a globe. I didn't know what you all thought about it. Yeah.
One thing that kind of
Kurt? There's a special bakery in on Michigan Avenue in downtown Chicago. The loaves of bread that they throw out in the alley, it's been proven that those loaves talk.
My goodness,
it's a fact. So I mean,
I get your point. You're I can't think of the word. You're doing
so
here,
don't be doubting the flat earthers. Don't make fun of them, because the homeless people on Michigan Avenue, and what's that other one right next to the water or to the lake? Anyway, there's a whole bunch of them down there. That's what they eat. They get the loaves of bread from out behind this bakery, and it's proven that these loaves of bread talk. So I'm just saying. Just saying.
But do they sing? Does the bread sing?
Oh, does it sing? He's asking.
Well, that does remind me of a joke. There was. I grew up in the Church of England, and there was an old Englishman in our congregation, in our parish, and he had been accused by a Baptist preacher who didn't believe in creeds, like the Apostles' Creed and the Athanasian Creed and the Nicene Creed, stuff like that are in the prayer book. And he used to tell the story how he'd gotten into a discussion with this Baptist preacher about this, he objected to creeds. It was scripture alone for him, this Baptist preacher. And he said, but you people say creeds, say the creed in your church. And this old English guy said, I beg your pardon, sir,
We don't say the creed, we sing it. Anyway.
That was good. That was very good. I love it. We don't say it, we sing it.
Brian, I heard you talking earlier about apocalypticism. I can't say that word right. Sounds kind of goofy when I say it. But what do you think about that topic? I heard you mention it earlier. It's a big.
Well, what I was talking about earlier, I think, if I remember what you're referring to, was just that we, when I was talking to the guy from Chicago, that we, this was a doomsday cult. Now, Christianity has obviously apocalyptic ideas in it, and from going right back to the Hebrew prophets, Daniel, and some of the others in particular. And then the Lord himself spoke on the Mount of Olives with a prophecy about the apocalypse. And then there is the book that's called Apocalypse, Revelation. So Christianity is an apocalyptic religion, but obviously you can take it too far. And what happened with the JWs is that they keep saying it's going to happen right around. It's like there was that book by Marley Cole or somebody back in the 1950s, Armageddon Around the Corner. If you remember that one, it was he was a witness who wrote a book called Armageddon Around the Corner. I think it was Marley Cole. And it was a book you could actually, back in the day, you could actually get this in the book room. Some of the old timers remember that. Rick will probably remember that you could get this book. It was published by another publisher, not the Watchtower Society. And anyway, the point is, Armageddon's always right around the corner. And the Seventh-day Adventists are pretty guilty of this, and some of the other smaller Christian churches are. And it never does happen. And Christianity has had to learn the lesson that Jesus is taking his own sweet time. And I don't mean that disrespectfully at all. He's got to, assuming that our religion is true, that Jesus of Nazareth was the Son of God and the Messiah, and he's coming back. You have to have the right balance. For some reason, he's decided 2,000 years is, maybe 2,000 years is when he's coming back. Maybe he will come back in 2036. But the point is, in the meantime, you have to have the right balance between believing he's coming and not going off half-cocked all the time. So in his own prophecy, he said, he talks about various things that are sort of maybe near the end, like when in Matthew 24 there and Luke 21. And then he says, he's partway through it, he says, but the end is not yet. Then he goes on and talks about a few more things. And then he says, and then shall ye see the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. Now, I'm of the opinion that he was, that he meant that we will see the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then we'll know. That's when to start talking about it in full earnest. In the meantime, get on with the business of making a living and trying to do the right thing in the meantime. And then you can get ready to flee to the mountains or do whatever. But I don't see the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, so I'm not worried about running off to the mountains yet. But when I do, and I think it'll be pretty plain, then you'll see Brian hightailing it to British Columbia.
Yeah, but Brian, haven't you seen those signs like nonstop? Because they are constantly saying that when you least expect it, and all that other bull. And
yeah, that's a good question. That's a really good question. It's a. Okay, I'm not sure if I maybe I interrupted you. If I did, sort of finish your question.
I interrupted you, and I'm sorry, but I don't want to let this go unsaid because it has been obviously it has been so convincing to so many millions of people the way that they have turned it because of those scriptures. Joe, when you
there is a bit of tension in the New Testament about that. There are some things that seem to make it sound like you've got to have it, the panic button, your hand on the panic button all the time. But obviously we didn't need to have our hand on the panic button because it's 2,000 years have gone by already. So obviously it's somewhere in between, and that's the issue.
Based on experience, somewhere in between. But like a thief in the night, guess what? You know what? As soon as you let your guard down, bang.
They taught you well. They taught you well, brother.
Exactly. They did. You well. They are continuing to teach us that. And but
anyway, the point is, you know what? The book I recommend to everybody on this subject. There's a book written. I think his last name was Cohn. I can't remember his first name. Kohn is the name of the author. It's about a 30 or 40-year-old book, probably written about 40 years ago, and it's called In the Pursuit of the Millennium. I highly recommend that book. It's a history of all the people, or most of the people, from the 1st century or 2nd century onward, who have looked forward, hoping the millennium was coming right away. So it's all the apocalyptic type movements and people through the last 18 centuries. It's a really good book, and the thing about it, if you are in a sect like we were, or the Seventh-day Adventists, or the Christadelphians, or some of these other ones, you read a book like that, it'll help you to get some balance, because people have been talking. This isn't a new idea by any means, and like just as one example I'll give out in that book, around the year 1000 AD, there was a massive movement in the decades running up to the year 1000, because in their minds it made sense. Okay, 1,000 years are going to go by, makes sense. Christ's going to come back now, and there's a whole flourish of monks and priests and authors and preaching and everything about this idea of Christ returning when the year 1000 came. That's just one example in that book. There's lots of others, but it gives you some perspective. If you read a book like that, that's the history of this whole idea, how it's affected Western civilization, and how these Second Adventists in the 19th century were part of a long history of this in Christianity, and this is probably one of the strongest movements that's ever happened on the pursuit of the millennium, is what happened with the Second Adventists in the 19th century, and we're still feeling the effects of it right now. The reason we're even all here tonight talking was because of the Second Advent movement 200 years ago, coming up on 200 years of it since William Miller. But anyway, it's a strong idea. It's a very, very strong Christian idea. It's a very, very strong historical idea. And it just so happens that we, all of us, to a greater or lesser degree, depending on how messed up we got by it, got on the wrong end of a very hot stick. You know,
that was a very good, very detailed answer. A very detailed answer. Who is this guy you're talking to? I don't know his name. Brian, this guy you're talking to, he don't care for me to ask him. What's your name?
Here, you haven't even, really? I don't care for you to ask? Of course I do. You didn't even give me a second to answer.
No, he was just using a colloquial Appalachian way of saying he'd rather not tell me.
Oh,
but
yeah.
He wasn't being rude. He wasn't being rude. I know Kurt pretty well.
All right. Well, my name is Tom, and I'm just trying to say that, okay, so we've had all
wait a
these...
minute. Hold on a minute. Hey, Tom, hold on a minute. I'm confused. What did you get mad at me for? You got me confused here. What did you get mad at me for? I just asked you what your name is. Can you explain that to me?
Well, I wonder if I can back up here just for a second, Kurt. And
I don't understand. I don't understand what I said to him that made him so damn mad.
I don't think he's really mad, Kurt. I think he just mistook what you meant, I think.
Well, I don't know how he did, and if he can understand English.
Can we start over? Can we start over? Because
yeah, I mean, I just if a person,
this other gentleman, if a person gets mad because you ask them their name, I mean, come on. Do we live in that kind of world where you can't even ask somebody their friggin' name? Kurt, Cal.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's okay.
I got a call.
Well, by the way, so just this other guy that was on that asked that question, isn't that the guy that you guys have nicknamed him Wyatt Earp? Isn't that? Or am I mixed up here?
Still on there, I guess. But yeah, the guy. The only thing I was asking is I wanted to hear this guy talk with you. I enjoyed the conversation. He said something about I wouldn't let him speak. I don't know what the hell that's all about. I mean, let's get with it, people. Let's get real. Come on.
I think. Yeah, sometimes when we're all...
I don't like a damn smartass. And I never have, and I never will. He's a damn smartass.
Come on, Kurt. Okay.
I have missed the obvious misunderstanding, so that's why I asked if we could start over.
I know.
Kurt, you said something. I think you said this, Kurt. You said... Brian, I think the other guy doesn't care for if I ask his name or something.
Yeah, it was this guy talking to Brian. I don't know what his name is, and I just was being friendly. The country I live in here, you can ask people their name without getting shot.
I guess maybe.
So,
maybe he wanted to have some time that you can ask him what is your name, and then he wants time to answer before you say he doesn't care for me asking his name.
It could be. I apologize for getting so upset, but it takes me about a split second if I'm dealing with a smart ass. I don't like a smart ass. I never did. Hellfire, I can go around being a smart ass 24/7, but I don't. I choose not to. And I expect a full-grown man. I'm not talking about a 10-year-old. I'm talking about a full-grown man ought to be able to talk to somebody without being that way.
Now you're kind of implying that somebody is a child now, and that's really rude of you, Kurt.
I didn't understand you, Grace, but say that again.
Yes. Now you are kind of implying that somebody is acting like a child, and that's really rude of you, Kurt.
Well, he did. He did.
Well, here's my point.
He's a full-grown man.
No, yes, but I've been trying to...
man, and I asked him his name. I asked him his name in a kindly way, and then I get that response. I mean, I guess I'll live. I guess I'll live.
You have been too much with the cold miners. You can be frank to them, just say things, and they won't take it. But now, when you live in a civilized society, you have to be more smooth in what you say and be more careful. You're not with the coal miners now. You have to try to adapt to the situation. I mean, it's hard for me also. You know, I'm from Sweden. I'm from Sweden, and I don't know English, so it's not easy for me either.
Your English is very good, Grace.
You're making perfect sense. I'll shut up for a while and go to *6 mute, and I'll maybe talk later on. I apologize. Thank you, Grace.
You don't have to feel that way. You haven't. It's not a problem, really.
Thank you very much. You're a good woman.
You.
Thank you.
So I'd like to take a minute and let y'all hear Miss Informant.
Okay.
And you'd let me know if I sound like her or not. She'll start speaking in a few seconds.
I want to read a thread that was posted on Jehovah's -witness.com forum that's been online now for going on 15, 16 years. And it's an ex-elder's story of waking up later in life, posted 13 hours ago by a person. Let me expand this thread.
This was from 5 years ago.
Yes, but what they said, Linda, is that you use that Rick has said here on the show.
Doubtful 1790.
Say that again, Grace. I'm sorry. What?
Yes. Problem is, Rick has said on this show that he has a machine that can change a voice. So they have been claiming that you use this machine from Rick. So it doesn't
show. Obviously slowing down, and I found this creepy. It's obviously slowing down. It's not.
You talk much faster. She talks very slow. I noticed that she's very slow. She's like a woman from the north of Sweden and talking so slow.
Sometimes she's very precise like this, very clear, and sometimes she's like going on and on and on, and she ain't shutting up for a while because she got things to say. But yeah, this was about her reading a thread. I wanted to listen to it a minute to make sure she wasn't cussing, because she did that a lot. But yeah, that's her. And she was reading a thread. So that's a little bit of Informant.
Okay.
If you want to think of it as a voice changer, it's up to you. Yes, Brian?
Well, I was going to say what you could do is get a clip of her with an F-bomb, and then you can give us an F-bomb, and then we can compare.
Right?
Then we'll know for sure. Right?
I actually did a recording of them, of Informant and Jill on the same call when they called into 6 Screens, because they were always accused of being the same person. And Mia T was hosting the show, and she wouldn't let me break in to have talk. And then when they did, it just didn't go well. Go ahead, Brian. What?
Well, yeah, that was the other thing I wanted to ask. I'm glad you mentioned that again. So, Jill, if I remember, Jill did have I'd forgotten her name, this person, but I'm pretty sure I know who you're talking about. She had a YouTube channel of her own, right, Jill?
Yes, beautiful gal. You would see her face, very Christian. Yeah.
What did you say? How did you describe her?
She was very Christian, like you knew she was a Christian. Jill is a Christian.
Yeah, she had quite long hair, and she wore her makeup real good and all that. She was all well put on. She put her makeup on well and everything for the camera. Now, is that the girl? Is that Jill?
Yes.
Quite long hair,
slender
right?
gal. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, she used to come on sometimes late at night in the after hours program. I think Rick, you used to call what we did late at night the after hours. Anyway, she used to come on that program sometimes.
I remember listening to her join Mary John Wayne.
Doctrine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we would talk a bit of doctrine, a bit of this, a bit of that. Whatever happened to her? She still
has a channel. I believe she still has a channel.
Oh,
I just don't know the name of it.
Yeah, she'd been getting very Calvinistic. She'd started to accept Calvinism. I remember talking to her about that, and which is full on predestination stuff. That's I remember these two now. Now that you've brought them up, I'd completely forgotten about these people. But be interesting if some of those people would show up again now and then, I guess. I mean, but people come and go. Like I disappeared for a long time, and I mean, I just happened to be around a bit tonight, but not necessarily going to be around that much all the time, like I used to. But anyway,
the informant that I thought that was really awesome about her channel is that just before she left, her mother was on her deathbed, okay? And somebody got a hold of her and her sister, and they got to see her mother before she passed. And she described that story to us, and that when she showed up, because the man that was married to her mother was also the elder that disfellowshipped her when she was underage at that time. Then this man that disfellowshipped her ended up marrying her mother. So there was some hating on that guy. So, and I didn't blame her. But
was he a loser when he a loser when she showed up to see her mother on her deathbed? Was this guy a jerk?
Well, he was not the one that informed them that the mother was on their deathbed. I believe it was a cousin of some sort. Some other family member asked him, the elder that married her mother, did you tell them? And he hadn't even informed them. So whoever this person was, I don't remember. He was somehow related. He informed them. They got to show up. And as soon as they walked in the room, both her sister, and her mother just said, "I'm sorry." They hugged each other, and it was beautiful. I'm getting touched by it. But it was so many times that, she would tell a story and how this elder that, disfellowshipped her and then married her mother, it was very agonizing for her. And it made my heart happy that was not stolen from her, and that the reconciliation between her mother and her happened. And I think that was like, it was beautiful, and it was, love conquers all. And they didn't have to discuss any of the best or nothing. It was a good moment. It was a good moment. And then shortly after that, she left.
Some people don't get that.
she left her channel and stuff. You know. Yeah. So that
this
to this
of,
day,
when the mother. Sorry, go ahead.
Ask me that again. What did you say?
I was just going to say how, like, this business of not some of them are so into it that they won't even let the kids come or tell the kids, the child, grown child now, that the parent is dying. I'm pretty sure that that's what happened to Gus. I don't know if you guys remember Gus Astacio.
Yes.
On Saturdays years ago, 10 years or so ago, Gus used to his Healing X outreach program. He co-broadcasted it on his own blog talk channel, and at the same time it was on 6 screens, but I think it was on at about noon Mountain Time, so probably about 10 o'clock. No, probably about 2 o'clock, 1 or 2 o'clock Eastern time. But anyway, Gus, I'm pretty sure Gus told me that he found out after his mother died.
And this is so common for the organization to fail to tell their blood relatives any kind of, it's to see their parents before they come over. It's a shame. It's happened to me many, many times. I'll find out years later that somebody died and I wasn't informed. And it's crap. So the way it went into place, I just think was so beautiful. You can say a lot of things about Skelly or informant or whatever, but that moment of reconciliation that she got to have with her mother after this elder that disfellowshipped her and then married her mother was in the picture was miraculous. It was a good moment, and it was reconciliation, and I loved it. It was like one of the best endings anybody could ever have. And Jehovah's Witnesses usually don't set things up for one that has left the organization to be able to have that moment that is deserved. That's just not a thing that happens usually.
Linda?
Yes.
This is Carrie. I happened to look up Jill, and Jill Chandler still has her Facebook, and we're friends on Facebook for a long time. So, all this garbage that's going on and YouTube and these people, they're I swear to God, they're idiots. They're complete idiots. And I don't want this to shake you. You and I have spoken many, many times privately. So, I don't know what their problem is or who these people are,
I don't either, but they don't shake me. I know who I authentically am. I recall.
I hope not.
I recall informant and her personality.
Linda, it doesn't seem like it is bothering you.
You know what? It's really not, and you know what that tells me? Stuff like this might have hurt my feelings before, but today it's almost a compliment because, like I said earlier, informant was a badass.
I wish somebody would tell me, "Hey, you remind me of badass so and so." That probably makes me feel good,
right?
Right.
Man.
Hello, Brian.
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 Hi, Kurt. Welcome.
Yeah, hi, Kurt.
Pasta Babe, I had to get off the phone there for a few minutes. I just come back on.
Welcome.
Apologize. I'll at least give a half-ass apology. Apologize for the anger. I don't like that about myself at all. I don't like it. And I don't know.
Thank you, Kurt.
I just wish we live
I
in a better
understand.
world. I wish we live in a better world where you could ask somebody their name without getting shot. But, you know, we live in a confused, complex. People are so complex. I just give up. I should give up trying to figure myself out to begin with, trying to figure anybody else out. But I apologize for it. Grace straightened me out there. I wanted to ask another question. And we can forget about the Watchtower. It was just a simple question about 1914 from a secular point of view. Yeah.
Say that again.
Yeah, I can't hear you. Is that Brad?
I'm asking you to repeat what you said about 1914.
Oh, apostate. Yeah, I just wanted to ask you all, not from a Watchtower point of view. I'm talking about from a secular point of view.
Okay.
The year 1914 and how it changed the world. Have you all ever thought about that? Maybe you have. I don't know. And this is not a Watchtower question. This is from a secular point of view. The year 1914, how it changed the world. Anybody want to talk about that? If not, I'll have to.
Well, it was when World War I started.
Yep.
Beyond that, I don't really know what happened.
I don't either. I'd like to find this book on it, a secular book. You know, there's a lot of things that changed the world. I'm not a historian. Brian knows 100 times more about history than I do, and a lot of other things as well. But the French Revolution, all kinds of things.
I was reading something about a new cult that used 1914 very similarly. I was reading something about a cult I didn't know about earlier this week, and they used 1914 very similarly as the Jehovah's Witness religion does. And I found that very intriguing.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, I didn't know that. But
you know what? They predict so many years. They're bound to hit a year where something happens.
Well, yeah, I agree with that. But I'm just trying to forget about the Watchtower for a few minutes and think about 1914, like an historian would. You know, that's what I'm talking about. And I don't really have much to say about it. I mean, other than just my question. I don't have any books on it, or I got on YouTube the other day and tried to find some information. I typed in how did the world change in 1914, and of course, about all you get is videos about World War I, and it was a huge event. You know.
Hey, Kurt.
Yeah, hi, Pixie. Go ahead.
I had to get out of bed for that question because that's my specialty as a historian.
Okay.
And I was just so relaxed, drifting off to sleep, and I heard your question. Yes, World War I changed the entire world. Before World War I, Europe and America had some of the most beautiful art for 10 years that has ever been. It was called the Beaux-Arts period, and it was Tiffany lamps and beautiful jewelry and bronze, beautiful nude women and all kinds of exquisite chairs for 10 years. And everybody that sees the art of that time says, wow. And why can't they?
Got my attention. I'm listening now.
And why can't they make things like they used to? It was the most loved art time. And then this ruler of a small country was shot, and the whole world went into war. And they went into war with these gypsy wagons and horses. And during that time, the tank was invented. The Red Cross was invented as we know it. They had some of that in the Civil War, but the idea of an ambulance, the radio, the zipper on men's pants.
Wow.
Surgery progressed, and the whole world changed. But nothing was gained from World War I, not 1 foot of victory. And the Somme was the worst loss of life in any war, in any battle, and it was all for nothing. And after that, people came home to their villages if they could still walk and live. The Spanish flu had happened and killed more people than the war. And modern art started, jazz started, and people were so depressed if they had been veterans in this war. They had shell shock and Dadaism and modern art. And that's what I know about 1914.
Very good answer. And yeah, I'm searching for the secular aspect of it. That was very good, Pixie. Very
well,
good.
there's a show on YouTube called The Great War. It cut the population in half. In Britain, there were no young men to go to work. The women ended up fixing trucks and going into factories. Much of the think of as feminism is because the men weren't there to do the work, and this happened in the Vietnam era too.
Rosie the Riveter, wasn't she?
Yeah, Rosie.
Because the men, a lot of men left and women stepped in, and then when they came back, the women also stepped aside for them to have their jobs back, but they stepped in quite well.
That's right. And also
was that
cars,
a time of like
cars,
industrial revolution?
In World War I, we had trucks, cars, ambulances, and tanks. And before that time, it was horse and carriage.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit where you'll see some footage, and you'll have a horse-drawn cart at the same time as a streetcar.
Yes, I have seen that.
Okay.
Good answer.
The model that was used.
Welcome.
The model that was used to make that painting was actually a Jehovah's Witness, even though there's an article I ran into. So the person that modeled didn't look like Rosie the Riveter, but she just positioned herself in such a way that the artist came up with the picture. So not a Jehovah's Witness, because they weren't Jehovah's Witnesses until 1935.
Well, that's true. My aunt was in a factory in California. They like to get petite women to put the rivets in the airplane noses.
I have something I need to share, Pixie, if I may interrupt you. Carol Paradise in the chat room said, okay, I think she's talking to somebody else. I thought she was talking about Rosie the Riveter. Forgive me. She's talking to somebody in the room. I'm sorry, Pixie. Go on.
I'm here. I have a history question that I need an answer to.
Okay.
I just read 500 pages
Rick, this
of...
is Kathy Harrison, and how fucking dare you call me a slut, you micro dick nigger faggot. Burn in hell.
I'd like to say that Kathy Harrison is a
poor Rick.
Christian.
Poor Rick can't have a break tonight.
Tits and nipples are the only thing keeping a roof over her head.
It's so fascinating how
wouldn't give me the time of
these
day.
recordings are happening today, throughout the day, and then the people that are in the comment section are saying what they're saying. It's really bizarre.
Get off the phone, you moron! Get off the damn phone!
I think these are pre-recorded things.
Oh, that's cussing I didn't even hear in a newsroom or from a sailor. That was quite different.
Yep.
My history question, I just finished Fire in the Minds of Men. I read 500 pages, so you don't have to. But they talk in there about a group in the 1800s called
Nigger.
Called what?
Called the
Nigger.
No, that word wasn't used, ma'am. It was
it's a recording. It's a computer.
Oh, I see. Okay,
Good.
that's what interrupted, because we don't use the N-word on this show. I think that's what I was hearing. We don't use the N-word on this show, no.
Nigger.
Wow.
Nigger.
Or it's not legal.
Hey, Rick, if you're able to, poor thing, Rick really needs to sleep. And you're, this really sucks.
Somebody thought it was good. The group in the 1800s, they were called charcoal burners.
Shut up, bitch!
I didn't ask you.
Yeah, it's pre-recorded stuff that somebody gets on here and talks about, and they just play these recorded messages, and it's happened on and off over the last, 4 or 6 years. Usually it happens early in the day, but it's pretty rare for it to happen on this show.
It's never happened to me in all my decades of radio. How fascinating. Anyway, so
they call in.
Charcoal burners in Italy about 1830, and I'm wondering if they had any connection at all to the word coal porter that used to be used in the Russell time, because I'm always tripping over that word.
Charcoal burner.
Yeah.
Wondering if it has anything to do with coal porter. Did I hear you right, Pixie?
So, yeah, the Russellites, and they always in that book of the witness history, they talk about the coal porters, and I'm like, that's not even an English word. But then I'm reading this book about the history of Europe, and in about 1830, they had this group in Italy called the charcoal burners. So if anybody
Play with myself, so you want to see?
See, and I have no access to turn any of that off. I don't have access to mute any of it.
Hey, Linda.
Yes.
Linda? Do you want me to phone
I'm here.
Rick? Will you come up? Do you want me to phone Rick? I've got his cell number. Tell him what's going on.
It may have stopped.
I just cracked my knuckles. Did you hear that? I'm wondering if he's if you could text him. I have his number too. I'm wondering if he's using, because he does this phone thing where he sets the phone down and then he puts the microphone on top of it, and I don't know if it'll interrupt that, but still, that's a good idea, Brian. Yes, please. The night can only get better.
He'll be able to come in. We can turn the way off.
I mean, it's like, I don't know. It's like an e-ticket ride at Disneyland or something, you know? It's the best kind of dirty lingo ever, you know? And it really never phases me. It just doesn't. It's not like I've never heard this stuff before.
Together in ways I didn't know it could go together.
What's really bummer, what is a real bummer about it is it interrupts people's conversations. And that's the intention. Just interrupt the show. So this happens every so often.
Talking about in 1830.
Yeah.
PC?
Yeah.
I'm a little confused. What kind of group? A religious group, or what are you talking about?
Well,
this is Rick, and I love eating Watchtower pussy. My wife Susan always has yeast infections and STDs, so it's just JW pussy for me.
That is just so amazing. So amazing. I'm trying to drown out the stuff that they...
Yes, he was on when it was Fran and Joe. Then he came on this one.
Maybe can you cuss him out in Swedish for us?
This is Rick, and I love eating Watchtower pussy.
That would be so wonderful.
If there happens to be a burning hell, that cat will be, he's on his way to highway to hell. I'll tell you that right now. Whoever that
You
is.
hear that, caller? That cat's on his highway to hell.
Rude.
Yeah.
I'm on a highway to hell.
So anyway, Russell and his people, he called the pioneers coal porters before he called
shut
them
your
pioneers.
vagina up.
Yeah.
Before he had pioneers, he called them coal porters, and
Right.
it's spelled funny and all like that. So when I'm reading this book
The
about
matter
the
here,
history of,
shut your cunt.
when I'm reading about the history of the world and politics in Europe and stuff, it's about the same time, and I'm running across these charcoal burners in Italy, and I'm like, well, I wonder if they're connected.
Yeah, that's a good question.
I don't know. I don't have a library near me anymore. I used to have the wisdom of the world at my fingertips, and so if anybody has any connection to why they were called coal porters, I'd love to know.
Yeah, I'm like you. I don't know. I remember Russell did call them coal. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say that the word was used for any type of Bible salesman.
Shit. Never fucking ever
So,
come into
so
any
other
of my
Bible
fucking
salesmen
channels.
too is what you're saying?
Fuck you. Fuck all these motherfuckers. Fuck all y'all.
I don't know. I just I'm sorry, it's hard to catch everything that's being said. Forgive me for not
Okay.
catching it right.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for that, Pixie. I heard every word you said there. And you gave a good answer to the 1940.
The conference has been locked.
Well, I just love that time period in art. You might want to look online to some of the art and things that were created at that time because it's just beautiful.
I might do that. Seriously.
And then the movie Titanic would be that time period right before World War I as well.
Right. That's right. Yes. What was it? April of 1914 that the Titanic sank in April, I think.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we just had the 110th anniversary or something. Yeah, it was April.
1915, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I like that movie.
Yeah, I do too.
That coal porter word.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah.
French, I think it's a French word. And it's colis is a package, and the porteur is to carry. So you shorten it to coal porter.
Okay.
They carry packages. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the Italian version was charcoal burners, and they were related in some way to religion and politics and Bibles, and it turned up in this book. So I just wondered if they were connected. So you've answered the question, so thank you.
And that's my guessing and my limited French. You know what I mean?
Your French is good.
Yeah, that was good, Zach.
Merci.
Thank you. Thank you.
Zachary's very smart. Is Brian still on there or gone? I was going to ask him about 1914. Of course, anybody can talk about 1914 or any other subject. It's just something I got to thinking about, I don't know, maybe a week ago.
Definitely look on YouTube, and you'll have all kinds of beautiful images that go with it, and the music that goes with it. And again, the early automobiles, the tanks. There had never been a tank before.
Right, yeah.
And if you look at National Geographic, some of these people, some of these nations, not only did the European nations go to war with horse and cart at the beginning, but some of these nations went to war with spears, and then cannons were bigger, and rifles, and I don't know all of that, but it was the beginning of the modern world, and it was the beginning of terrible chemical weapons and war. And
I'll be back in just a minute. Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, well, it was answering Kurt, but if he's not here, it's crazy. You know what I mean?
Talk World War I.
Well, I don't have a lot to say about it. It's there was a question in college that I missed on an exam, and it was, what were the causes of World War I? And, you know, I gave some of the answer, and I very detailed things that happened during World War I. But the main answer to the question was, the cause of World War I was that there were a series of secret and entangling alliances.
Yes.
So one, you know, you had this, and I can't even remember them now, but one country had an alliance with another country that other countries did not know about. And so if the one country got pulled into a war, the other one had to come in also. And there were so many of these secret alliances, and they were so entangling that the whole thing kind of got out of control, just keeping the alliances that were secret. And then, of course, as the war started growing, they became not so secret anymore.
Right,
and
right. But nothing was gained, and much was lost.
Yeah, yeah.
But you know, from your study of music, you know how exuberant that era was right before that time. And then we get Dadaism and we get jazz and everything after that time.
Well, yeah, there was I guess that right before that time you had in music the Romantic period, and which followed the Classical period. The Classical period, you had Mozart, early classical, and Beethoven, and some others. Schubert, I guess, was toward the end of it and kind of going into the Romantic period. And the Romantic period, one of the most beautiful composers, their music, so exquisitely lyrical, is Chopin.
Oh yes.
I mean, it's like the fingers of God playing. You know what I mean?
Oh yes,
Yeah.
I do. I do, in fact. But then we're moving into Ravel. We moved from Chopin then into Ravel and Saint-Saëns and some of these real sweet little lyrical things that kind of those lamps and the jewelry and everything too.
Hey, let me interrupt for 1 minute. Let me interrupt for one, and you and Zachary get back to your talk. I got a call from Brian. Brian is been muted, been muted. He can't get back on the call. I wanted to tell Apostle Bay before Rick goes back to sleep that in the process of muting people with these intruders, he muted Brian what's the word? Yeah. So I want to tell Apostle Babe, I don't know if you can talk to Rick and see if he can unmute Brian so he can get back on the call.
Oh,
but I want to pick you and
he just stepped in. Tell him now he just stepped in. I see him at the computer.
The conference has been unlocked.
Yeah, say it now.
He needs to unmute Brian if he can. 403 area code.
And
403.
And see, and the reason Rick muted this is because the people that were bringing in these recordings, that's how he shut them all up. Unfortunately,
right.
You know, other people got muted as well.
Yes. anyway, Brian called me and wanted to see if he could get back on there. I said I'd talk to you guys.
Hey, Kurt, this is Rick. This is
you know.
Rick. Kurt, this is Rick Farron. Give Brian a call. Tell him to get in right now if he wants to get in. Yep.
I'm going to hang up and give him a call.
Okay.
All right, bye.
You too, Grace. This is your time. Right now, right here, right now, Miss Grace. And Carol's right. It's a shame, but nothing new. It's very rare that this will happen in the middle of the night, and it's usually a disturbance for Rick's show. But it's weird how this will just happen every so often, and it's so vulgar. It's just so vulgar.
Well, what it is, Linda, they are Watchtower operatives. They are these are people that are calling in from Watchtower. They are commissioned to do this. They do not like this program, any of it. They don't like the idea that we talk about the Watchtower. So these are Watchtower operatives, drunken Bethelites, if you would. Call them what you want, but that's who these
in that case, I'm flattered.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a pity we can't have a conversation about high culture in World War I without such vulgarity.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's something that we've put up with for years, but these are operatives. They are working for the Watchtower. They have been commissioned to come in and disrupt this. This is not the only program they do this to. They monitor everything on the internet concerning what people are talking about, of course, concerning the Watchtower, and they try to do everything they can to disrupt it. I mean, in the written page on Reddit and on JWN, well, what they would do is they call them trolls. And it's the same thing that we have here. These are people that have been commissioned by the Watchtower to do this, to disrupt it. Yep.
Well, I had 3 Navy uncles. I worked in a newsroom, and the conference has been locked. Never heard such filthy language in my life. Coming from supposed witnesses, it's deplorable.
Yeah, it's it's a terrible.
To say hi to gorgeous Rudy Crone. Hi, hon. Thank you. That's all.
We've got looks like we got Brian back on. Brian, we got you back on. Thank you, though.
Good.
We locked the call, so I believe he's back on with us. Thank you. Yep.
And Rick, I wouldn't mind if you kind of looked at the chat under YouTube and decide which ones to block. That would be really cool.
Well, I can't. In other words, I can't watch everything here, Linda. So what's going on YouTube?
No, you could. It's just if you wanted to look at the chat now.
Well, the only thing I can do with chat is I can stop people from calling right now. I mean, I can stop them from chatting. Do you want me to do that?
No.
All right. So I mean, I just don't know what to do.
I didn't realize I asked you something you weren't able to do. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, I can do it, but nobody's going to be able to talk. I mean, we're going to freeze everything up. So I mean, I can stop all chatting right now if you want.
No, not at all. I'm not asking to stop all chat at all. I thought that you could point out a certain commenter, and I thought that commenter could be blocked. That was my request.
What's the comment? What's the commenter's name? You got. I'm coming in cold. I'm coming in cold here. What's the commenter's name?
Hassan Dawson.
All right. Well, we'll get rid of him. Okay, we'll get rid of him right now.
Okay.
All right.
And let's see. Okay.
Carol's here. I love it. Someone named Stella Limehouse.
Stella Limehouse. Limehouse.
Limehouse. All right. Let me go back. We'll get him off here too. Stella Limehouse. All right. We'll get rid of them too. Okay. They're blocked. Okay. Okay. They're done.
Great.
And I am sorry you're having to be up this late, Rick. Really, I am. This shouldn't be that way for you.
I understand it, but I want people to realize too that what we try to do here, I don't have any moderators. I'm the only one that, controls the whole situation. I've been up since, 4 o'clock this morning, really. I work on my own programs. I'm not complaining, just explaining. It's
Sure.
it's hard to, monitor everything. So
Sure.
I'll be up close to 24 hours here very shortly. I
Yeah.
try to do the best I can, but that's all I can do.
I appreciate that.
Suggestion, please.
Yes.
This is Carrie. You know me. You
Yeah.
know me.
Yeah.
I kind of speak my mind. You know what? You have trusted hosts here like Linda. Give her the controls. At least enough.
I have given her the Carrie. I have given her the controls.
And the problem is we haven't touched base. Partially my fault for to have him teach me how to use it. So I was just going to tell him this week I need to touch bases with him to learn how to do that. And thank you.
Well, it's a learning process. It takes, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of technical stuff that goes on here. I've got 7.
Yeah, I understand that, and I feel bad because these hosts that take time out to do whatever they do, and all these disruptors come in. It's hard, and especially this YouTube, what's going on in there, they're ripping you apart too, Rick.
Oh, I know that. The only other answer I have, Carrie, is I've been thinking seriously about ending the program at midnight. So, I hate to do that, but then there wouldn't be any apostrophe burning the midnight oil. So, do we want to do that? I don't want to do it at this point. So,
I get what you're saying. Then why not just stop YouTube? The suite was always there for.
All right. Well, what we'll do, I mean, we
have the suite.
Okay.
All
Well,
these extra ones going on, that's a lot of work. Why don't you just stay with the suite after midnight?
all right. Well, I mean, if that's what you would like, and if Linda would like it,
Well, it's not what I like. It's that there's a lot of problems. It's too much bad garbage going on.
Well, I think I think Carrie, I think this is the first night that Linda's ran into this problem. Is it?
Yeah,
it is.
So do we want to do? So do we want to? So do we want to take one night and kind of use that as a stepping stone to shut the whole YouTube down?
Not really, but it's going to happen again, and we know we used to go through worse than this years back. Oh God, I mean, disruption, terrible disruptions in the chat room, in the suite. I mean, they messed up that suite so bad, with scrolling and awful things. But okay, so that's done with because I think you nailed the people. You did nail them.
Yeah, well,
all
right. Well, that's it's I can't monitor everything here,
No, that's the thing. You got to get some kind of sleep, and that I agree with.
Well, I'm a human being. I'm a human being, and I do my own program. I spend upwards of 35, 40 hours a week putting together JW World News. That just doesn't happen. Someone's got to put it together and write it all out and fact check things. So, I'm not complaining, it's just explaining. And then we've got 17 different programs right now running on the 6 screens. So,
isn't that great?
I think it's good.
Got an audience all over the place. It's a wonderful thing. And I know you're only one person and you get tired. But no, I really don't have any real answers. It's just that Linda, I don't even think has had a chance to have her show the way she wanted or intended.
Yeah.
But,
well, I feel bad for her, but here's the thing, Carrie. There's one other alternative, and it'd be very, very. We could block all the callers and block all the comments, and that'd be the most boring program in the world. I mean, I can't imagine what that would be like, you know.
There's actually more options than that, and I'll bring it up
Must be doing something right if we got.
when I talk to you this week.
Yeah, I believe some of those people are from the YouTube. They're acting out so bad. Those are the people that are calling up or recordings and stuff. We've been through this before, but this is a little bit different tonight. So
just don't let them win. That's all.
Well,
you
yeah,
can do.
well, that's
Let
it.
'em win.
I've had them. I mean, let's go back to August 2 years ago. I actually had these people from YouTube call the SWAT team here where I live in Massachusetts.
I remember that.
And they visited me when I was doing the program. They were banging on my door, and these people called in and said that I was holding my wife hostage, and which was a lie. But it called the police to come here, and I mean they
I remember that.
and
night.
they had
we were witness to all that.
they had automatic rifles pointed at my door, and I was threatened all day long by people. And then, when people were pounding on my door, I wouldn't open it. And they said they were the police. And I said, no, I'm not going to open the door. So they would get nasty. And I looked out the little peephole, but my wife had a wreath hanging on the door outside, and I couldn't see what was going on. So they said they were the police. And I said, I don't believe you. I says, take the wreath down so I can look through the peephole and see you. And sure enough, it was the police, and they came in. And they said that someone called them, and it was from YouTube, and they did get a hold of that person. And to my knowledge, that person has been in big trouble from it. According,
yes, I remember.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. Many of us that witnessed that night, it was horrible.
Yeah,
it was horrible.
the only problem I wish I had them come in here. The police. That's to this day. I said, geez, I wish I could have got them on there. Could you imagine that if you could see the police live in here and the SWAT team coming into my radio station? So I mean, but this is the stuff. But this is the stuff I put up with.
Like the witnesses.
Yeah.
You'd be like the witnesses in those demonstrations.
But see,
there you go, Zach.
But no, there's people to this day they don't believe that ever happened. They think I make this stuff up. Yes.
Yeah. That I missed that when this is the first I've heard of this.
That was a fun night. Let me tell you.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. Like you just think you'll be able to till you're. Hey, Rick.
Yeah.
Assuming, and I mean, this might be a broad-based kind of a bad assumption, but when you die, I want to be at your funeral. I want to be the guy recounting that anecdote.
Well, that was. Well, I was afraid for my wife. No, seriously. My wife is not super healthy, and so she was sleeping, and I got these people pounding on the door during my radio program. So I went out, and they said, open the door. But I was threatened all day long. Would you open the door if you were threatened all day long by people? So anyway, so I said, I'm not opening it. And the way that I could see it, because of that wreath, my wife had this wreath hanging on the door. I looked out the peephole, and it looked like a guy out there with a Hawaiian shirt, a straw hat, and an Uzi pointing at my door. There was no way I was going to open it. So they said, open the door. We're the police. I says, show me and tell me you are. I don't care. I'm not opening it. So, I mean, this was all going on during the program. And so anyway.
Mimi and Gorgeous, I do see your comments, and I'm going to talk about it to Rick this week about having a moderator.
So what
and
they
if I got the blue wrench, then I'd be able to do some blocking too. So thank you.
Yeah. So what they did is, well, we'll see what it is, Linda. We're on 10 different platforms. The control panel I gave you was just a telephone line, but that's that's where they're gonna come in and make the foul language.
Is there a way you can be a mod with YouTube?
Yeah, there is. I could give them, the keys to my channel, and then they could, any comments on here, people could block.
I would need the keys to your channel.
Yeah, no. In fact, if anyone's willing to reach out, I'd be more than willing to. I mean, the network is growing. It is, and it's kind of like it reminds you of a snowball rolling down the hill. It starts out little, but it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I never realized it would, to be honest with you, but it has grown into quite a little network. It's a niche network, but at the same time, it's amazing how many people have been connecting with this lately. And it would be very hard for me ever to give this up. I think about, geez, what would ever happen if a lot of people would really be disappointed. It really would.
Yes, we would.
So
you've been discouraged before. Remember way back when you were really upset that nobody called in? Now they're beating each other up to get their So,
Oh no, I got.
And I kept on telling you, be patient, they'll come.
Well,
They'll come.
Well, I can remember that even years ago, nobody came in like they are today. When I first started, there was actually, when I first started the program, I don't even know if people listened, but I would go from 6:30 at night in the evening till 3:00 in the morning, and I would just put the word out there, and once in a while a person would come in, but it's not like it is today. This is unbelievable today, the amount of people. I think it's good. I'm not complaining. I'm just explaining that it really is different than then. But somehow, some way, this is where, former Jehovah's Witnesses come to talk. But a lot of people don't like us. A lot of people hate me. They all love Linda, but they don't like me. But it's okay. It's okay. I don't know if these.
That's funny.
Yeah. Oh no, I get. If I could show you the email that I get, most people would, they'd say, I quit. I quit. No, I get people that, every Sunday morning when I get up, after we do all of these programs on Saturday night, you should see the email I get from people. There's people that actually critique every program on here. Every word people say, I'm serious. Every single word that's said, people listen to everything we say, everything. And they'll tell me, yeah, it's unbelievable. And they'll write me on Sunday morning, Rick, this was a terrible program and you were terrible. And it's unbelievable. But it's water off a duck's back. Sometimes I really get people to say they like it, but a lot of people, they complain. What I get complaints. I'll tell you what, I mean, I'm not ashamed to say it, but the most hated man on the Six Screens Network is Larry John Wayne.
Yeah, you were telling us that last week.
Yeah, if he was on here tonight, wow. Larry, and if you listen to Larry, I'm not. He'd tell you that too. I don't know how many people have told me, get Larry John Wayne out of here. They don't like Larry. He's a good man. They pick on Larry. It's crazy.
I've been doing this show a long time. I talked to a guy named Carl years ago that was having those Witnesses for Jesus events in Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't have a car to go. I was going to go to that then, and then I heard about Six Screens, and I thought, oh, if I listen to Six Screens, I'll be in the lake of fire.
Wow.
Yeah, well, it's I used to go down to the Witnesses Now for Jesus, and that's where I really got started, really. That's when that was back in 2004, and that's where we really got the momentum started. But when I went down there, I liked the idea of, they were all, in fact, when I first went there in 2004, there was close to 300 people there. Now, as the years went on, it dwindled way down to practically nothing. But back then, there was a lot of people that would go. And I was so fascinated with it to see all of these ex-Jehovah's Witnesses come in. That's where I met Jay Hess. I couldn't believe it, because what they do on Friday morning, it's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And what they do on Friday morning is they pass the microphone around, and they ask everyone to just give a little brief brief narrative on who they are and where they're from and all of this. So I couldn't believe it. And then Jay Hess, he blew my mind. He stood up. He says, "My name is Jay Hess, and I was associated with the writing department of the Watchtower." And my goodness, I couldn't believe it. It really, coming out of the Watchtower and going down there was really an experience and a half. But I was so concerned that the Watchtower was going in the wrong direction. And I was in a Christian bookstore buying a different Bible than the New World Translation. And that's where my former wife, Inez, she saw a brochure in the bookstore about this convention. So she says, "Can we go there?" So I says, "Yeah, if you like to." So we went there and we took another couple with us. And it was such an experience. I mean, I'll tell you what, I'll put it in the top 5 experiences in my 74-year life, believe me, because they were scared to death. Not my wife and I, but the people I went down with. It was a rainy night, and we got down there, and of course it was a retreat, a Christian retreat center, and there was a big cross on the building.
Oh,
And
yes.
I can still remember it was Thursday night. We were going to be there for Friday morning. We got there at 10 o'clock. It was a rainy night. It's about 300 miles from where I live here in Massachusetts. And it's in the boondocks. I mean, it's way out in the middle of nowhere. So we got there on Thursday night, pouring rain. And all of a sudden, there's a big cross on the building when we pulled in. And the woman that went with us, it was her and her husband. They were in the back of the car. And she was so frightened. She says, "Oh, Rick, there's a cross on the building." I says, "Don't worry about the cross." I mean, after traveling 300 miles, I'm tired. I'm looking. I says, "Well, what are you worried about?" "Well, there could be demons in there, Rick." I says, "There's no demons in there." I mean, this is what the Watchtowers put into people's heads, right? So I says, "Listen, I'm going to walk in there." And we were dressed. I dressed up. I was in a suit and tie. And the man that came. Well, I mean, I just wanted to, at least play the part here. So they thought so. The man that was with me, he was an older Jehovah's Witness of the anointed class as well. So we walked in, and people thought we were they thought we were officials from the Watchtower. It was the strangest thing. And then so we got a room there, and they have it's really a neat place. They have little cabins, but I still to this day found it weird. So you'd rent the cabin, but you would have to bring your own sheets in pillowcases. And I thought that was kind of weird. So
Some of these cabin places, that's not unusual.
So you had to rent. So we got a little liar Rick. Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do with LTD. We're going to say goodbye to you, LTD. We're going to.
You must have been reading my mind. I'm staring at that.
Yeah, we're going to say good.
And I'm saying I got to tell Rick.
Yeah.
To get rid of that.
Oh yeah, we can do that.
Yes.
So
I don't like to ignore them because I like to see. You watch your enemies. That's for sure. And I don't block anybody.
Well, this is kind of this is unusual.
They should be blocked.
Well, it's unusual tonight that this is happening. I don't usually see this on YouTube. Somehow they're targeting Linda. I don't know what she did to them, but
yes, they are, and that really upset me because she didn't deserve any of that, none of it. But then when they kind of got tired of her, they went after you. So
yeah,
I kind of sat there and went, "Okay, Rick, you're snoozing away. It's time for you to wake up."
Yeah, so it's but now that I see it, but it's usually not like that. It's usually, and I don't want to block the I don't want to block the comments.
I got 3 of them going: Facebook, the conference, and the phone. I got all this stuff going on. So
well,
oh my God, I feel so loved and protected. You know how they said back in the day, stick close to the Watchtower, and I didn't have to ask anybody to do anything. Y'all just went right into business and you handled it. I'm so blessed.
Yeah. So what it is when we do this, we're on about 10 different platforms. We're on a bunch of Facebook groups. So, I really wanted to get it out there. So I got this StreamYard. This has been the most amazing thing you'd ever want to see in your life. So that's the software that I use here, and that kind of made things a lot easier, but also at the same time it kind of opened up a door to a bunch of scammers too. Yep.
Oh, of course. But I think you're doing a great job. And I'm going to go on mute. I mean, look at this. It's 2:38. You are in the same time zone I am. I'm never up this late on the show because I get tired. But tonight, it kept my attention up, that's for sure. I'm there to protect myself with these people.
Well,
it's like varnish looks real good.
Well, Carrie, it's funny. In fact, before you go to bed, one of our most, out of the 17 years of doing these broadcasts, one of the most listened to programs we ever had on the 6 screens was my JW World News, going back about 2 years ago, when this foul-mouthed Watchtower operative came in. All of a sudden, people started. And even right now, I'm looking at Linda. We've got, I'll tell you, her numbers are way up here tonight. I didn't even notice until now. Can you see the numbers, Linda?
No, but bad comments and good comments, it all helps the algorithm. So, say what you want, people.
Well, yeah.
It's all good.
Well, in fact, I'm looking. I'm looking at her amount of people coming in through YouTube, and she's got a high count right now. So it's just strange. It really, really is. The controversy sells. It works. I mean, I don't like it, but her numbers are up right now for 2:30 in the morning. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
About
I'm up, and that's
you know what I'm loving about everybody doesn't like a bully, and when they see somebody getting bullied, they jump in and go, "Oh hell no!" They just get into action. Try to stop it. It's so awesome.
Yeah.
Just stand up.
All right, you guys.
We can handle it.
Oh, yes, we can. Oh, yes, we can.
Thank you.
This has been All right, I'm going on mute because, now I'm wired up. So,
Sweet dreams, Gary.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Did Brian get back on?
Brian did get back on. He's on here with us tonight. I'm seeing, in fact, I'm reading some of the chat in here. Rick, haven't you think in having an hour a weekend in Spanish? I've thought about it, but I mean, how do you do it? Who's going to come on? We need someone in Spanish. If
Gilbert could come on probably if he wanted to.
Mary 777. I mean, Mary, would you be interested? I've thought about it, but we have 6 screens Sunday too. We got plenty of room on Sunday for someone if they'd like to come in. It doesn't have to be all spiritual. We could, after the spiritual programs, we could go back into the
just said he could do it. Give him a show for 6 screens, and he can do a Spanish show.
Yeah, well, okay,
I'll be in touch.
I'll be in touch with Gigi if you'd like to do it. My goodness, we'll. I mean, we're growing here, and I would like to get some people to, I'll give them the control panels and what have you. I mean, at some point, you gotta allow people to do some of this for you. It's work. It's work. I mean, if someone wants to step out and do it, I'll be glad to give you the necessary control panels if you need it. So we'll see what happens.
That's a great suggestion, Mary. Thank you.
Has their own set of issues too, along with the issues that we talked about here. So Gilbert would know about that.
Yeah, we got Mary 777. She says she'd love to do it. Mary, if you'd like to be involved in a Spanish program, write me at jwworldnews@gmail.com, and we'll do a Spanish program. I don't have a problem with that at all. We'll have a Spanish program because there's plenty of Spanish people who love to listen to this as well. Yeah.
And if you're a bit nervous at the beginning, I'm volunteering Gilbert Gonzalez to buddy up with you and kind of just coach you a little bit, and then you'll get yourself to a comfortable point. And maybe you're already comfortable now, but that's just a suggestion I'm saying that could be available for you. So yeah.
Well, we're
But I
gonna
love the way
try-
she says, "I would love it." So I can feel it in her soul that she's like ready to do this, and that's beautiful.
Oh yeah, no, we'll get them on. We get Saturdays. We used to have our Saturday programs used to start at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Right now we're starting at 5:45, but we used to start at 2 in the afternoon, and the programs went all night long. So we got room on Saturday too. I'm willing to open up the lines and be able to do programs then too. I have no problem with that. Yep. All right. So Mary777 says she'll be in touch with me. So that's fine. That's fine. No, in fact, there's going to be this little network is going to really get inundated here in the next year. There's so many people leaving the Watchtower. And Linda, your program is going to become El Primo. And I want to let you know that your program, and you're on late at night, but you say, well, gee, nobody's listening in. Well, you cover, right now, for example, another hour or so, people, well, the United Kingdom, they're 5 hours ahead in Australia. So you got people that they're listening in from all over the world. And when I get in, I check the Google Analytics. You wouldn't believe the people from London, England that listen in to the 6 screens. That's one of the most.
That is so awesome.
Yeah, they give cities that are the most where people listen the most, and they call London's always on the list. Australia's on there. It's unbelievable. So you reach a lot of people.
Wow.
I love what Linda Lowton just said. She says, "Great idea on the Spanish program. A very family-oriented group, and sure shunning is a major issue with them. Like they're not going to they don't shun. Like most of them just choose not to. They're just that they are just that family-oriented. They're just because some group tells them they need to shun, they don't usually shun."
Well, I'll tell you what, that Linda Lawton, she's really a really nice lady. I met her in person. She came up, it was in 2017 that we had the Warwick protest. And I'll tell you, and she was the first one that really showed up. When I showed up, I thought I was the first, but Linda was already there waiting for the protest to begin. So I got to talk to her, and, she went way out of her way to go up to that protest. And she's a really fine woman. And she's a committed apostate, so to speak. So, Linda, I'm glad you're checking in. I'm glad you're checking in, Linda. Thank you.
She said she took a break and just got back from Egypt. This woman travels the world. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Well, she does.
Amazing. And I've seen her at the San Diego protest. Yeah, you're right. She's very dedicated. She sends me things every so often. And she's very encouraging. And her personality and my personality are very, very different. But both of us are so for each other. I remember when her first grandchild, she was sending me pictures, and we were both just oohing and ahhing over the pictures of her first grandchild. It was so beautiful. And we've had conversations about, times that she's been able to visit her mother. They got to dance together and stuff like that. And she bought some curtains for the bathroom. And then somebody in her family sent the curtains back to her. It was so insulting, It's a shame that kind of stuff has to happen. But yeah, we bond over that,
Well, you know what it is too, Linda. Fran and Joe, we know who they are, of course. I've been in touch with them. They are remarkable people. And their next program, I've been talking with them. We're going to change the name of it. They're going to have a program coming on. It looks like starting next week when they come on at 9:30. And their program, and it's all going to be about putting ex-Jehovah's Witnesses together, through meetups. I mean,
they have this natural inkling. When they left Southern California, they're like telling all of us, y'all got to meet again. And I've been thinking this week, I need to call a couple of them and ask them how do we do this, and we should meet, either monthly or every 2 months or something. We need to do that. So yeah.
Well, they're the go-to people. I mean, people love them, and they're really nice people. And so I said, why don't you guys just plan on why don't you create this program where you're putting people together? Let people come in, and if you're from San Diego, call in. If you're put people together that they can have meetups, and we can really get to know so many more people. So that's what we're going to plan on doing. So we're coming up with a name, and next Saturday night at 9:30 they're going to put this new program together. So let's see how that happens.
Okay. Yeah, they're gifted like that. But I think in about 10 minutes I'm gonna probably shut the show down unless we want to go on another subject. Then we will be here. But I'm still willing to be up. I'm still willing to be awake. I'm still willing to go on. But at the same time, we've kind of been hit a little hard. We've been hit a little hard tonight, and sometimes that takes the wind out of people.
We can always talk about hair color.
Hair color? I agree.
Yeah.
I know the formula for Arnold Schwarzenegger. I can tell you what hair color he uses, and I have an eye for it. Mimi is mentioning that when Joe and Fran's on their show, that that it's very hard to hear them, and so she wants to be able to hear them better. They need to get closer to the computer, or come up with a mic situation or something.
Because they look so relaxed on screen that my suggestion would be they should be closer to the mics.
Yeah, I've talked to him about that before. I've got some extra microphones here. I'll probably have to end up sending them one because they really should. You got to have a micro. You got to have a good microphone. That is, and they're not expensive either. They're not. But a good microphone makes all the difference in the world. Yep.
And they're both very soft-spoken people too. They're not used to projecting to the back of the theater.
I have I feel like Mary Poppins because she's always got like this bag with all the stuff in the world, right? So I have one of these little microphones, that you clip on your shirt, and it has a very long cord, and it would hook into the computer, but I haven't tried it yet because I didn't put this in if I'm not going to be able to hear the people that call in. So I have to experiment with it first, but I've got 2 of these mics, and if they were a couple of these,
could work for you. But I think with the broadcasting, the larger omnidirectional it's going to get a more rounder sound.
Okay.
But I'll tell you what, Pixie, I've got those little microphones too, and those little microphones right there that Linda has, I use those when I go on the road doing my protests, and those are good. Those are good too. She'll. But right now, Linda's sounding really good. Linda's sounding really good. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Really better than normal. Yeah. So, but sometimes people buy expensive. I bought I bought this was $110 or whatever microphone, a blue Yeti, but I don't think it's great. I think sometimes even just a cheap little microphone does just as good. Yeah.
Well,
I can tell when you have moved it.
Expensive technology now.
Yeah. I just want to tell. I just want to tell.
Program, or are you getting ready to call it a night, or what?
We can keep going, or we can call it a night. It's up to you guys.
But Linda, last weekend when there was a discussion about, but when you shut down YouTube and the internet, we can still talk on the phone.
That's right. Yes, that's right. I remember that. And I actually listened in.
Dan, yes, Yes, I talked to Daniel, but I think he fall asleep on the phone.
Yes, I remember that.
I talked to him, and Guy was on for a while, but I think he fall asleep also. I was the only one, but I had already slept, so that's why I'm in a different time zone. But I mean, I think it's important that you sleep also so you don't get the burnout, Linda. I worry about you sometimes.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, when I get to the point where my high knee is numb, I'll stand up and walk around, you know. I'll take a break. I'll take a break, and most of the time people are having a conversation, and I'll like go take a potty break, grab something from the fridge, make a drink, or get me some fresh water, and I'm hearing everything, But I appreciate you caring and being concerned about me. I'm actually naturally a night person. If I was supposed to do this at 10 a.m., oh, this would be really unnatural for me. I'm not a day person. I'm just not.
It's hard for you guys to get up and take a break. It's not like rock and roll radio where you can put on Inagata Devita and get up.
Right. Well, when I hear good conversation, I'll take a break.
If we had to leave the studio for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, I see these people on TV when you see them, and geez, on Fox News and the business news I watch, geez, they have commercials, every 10 minutes. Right. So a commercial comes on, and geez, they can get up, walk around, but this is nonstop. This is non. There's no breaks. There's no breaks at all. Once you get on, you're on.
Yeah.
You're doing a great job.
Well, guys, I'm going to say good night. Sorry about the outburst.
Well, I hope I answered all your World War I questions and enjoy the music and the beauty of it. And I'm sure YouTube's got a whole bunch of stuff. And look for the BBC show called The Great War.
Sometime this week I will do that. I appreciate your answer. It was a very comprehensive answer. Yeah.
It's a lifetime of study once you start looking at that beautiful time period.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you guys.
Thank you for the apology, Kurt. I just wanted to say.
I think me and Kurt should have a show.
I don't know if anybody listened to us, White Earp. But yeah, I didn't know you were still on. Yeah. But anyway, I want to tell you all good night. I don't know what happened to Brian. Brian came back in, but I guess he's maybe went to bed or something. I don't know. But anyway, good night, everybody, and I'll talk with you tomorrow, I guess, okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Show's on tomorrow, too.
I wanted to mention that Kurt is coming on tomorrow at 2:00 on Anne Marie's program. So,
right.
Looking forward to Kurt coming on. Yep.
Wow.
Thank you, Rick.
You're taking off now, Kurt?
No, I can hold on. Pasta Babe, I think she's pretty tired, but I'm okay.
Nope.
If you don't want to talk a little longer.
Well, I look forward to your show tomorrow, Kurt. At 2:00. I'll be listening in.
Thank you, Pixie. I'll try not to be mean or anything.
I just wanted to say, Kurt.
Not sedated, but I'll be in better mood tomorrow. Sorry about.
Alrighty.
Sorry.
This is not your usual, Kurt. So sometimes we all get a turn.
Yeah.
We get a turn, and you had your turn, and you're good.
Well,
you're good.
I thank you for that, babe. I don't like to see people get mad, and I don't like to get mad myself. I don't.
Oh, me too. Me too. When I find myself in it,
well,
I
just got to keep rolling with it.
Yeah.
First rule of radio is just roll with it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, I'll stay on for a while longer. Somebody think about something to, or talk, Pasta Babe or whoever, think about something to talk about. I'm sure there's plenty to talk about. I never got an answer from Brian on the 1914 from the secular point of view. I don't know if you want to talk about that or not. But whatever you guys want to talk about, I'll stay on for a while. Go ahead.
Well, kind of agree with what other people said. I do remember my response to the preaching about 1914 when I was converting into Watchtower. And of course, 1914, everybody learned about it in school. You knew that different things had happened back then, the war in particular. And to a small teenage mind, the First World War, yeah, that was a big deal. And there was a Second World War. This is the first one that happened that year. Okay, that kind of made sense. So you, you know, you'd heard about it in school, and the old timers, some of the old timers still talked about it. Grandparents and great grandparents and stuff like that were still mentioning the Great War. And so it when the Watchtower Society was teaching the Gentile Times interpretation that they had, okay, it kind of made some sense. But other than that, didn't really know much about the First World War in 1914, and the society has a kind of a what's the right word? They have a very selective way of cherry picking different things from history and creating a narrative out of them. And I guess that's common, though. Lots of people do that. It's not so different, but theirs is religiously motivated, you know, trying to point out what they think is significant, what might support their doctrine. And that's why it's necessary for people who are in any church or any group, but primarily this religious business. You got to read a little bit more widely than your, what your sect wants you to do. So even if you're a Catholic, you know, they're the main player in Western history, or one of the main players in history of Western civilization. You have to read outside of their canon of accepted interpretations of history to get a fully the right, because they're going to tell you what they want you to hear. You never hear about the Arian believers in the after Nicaea. You don't know about that. The whole Roman Empire was split in half of anti-Trinitarians and Trinitarians. Even in the armies, in the Roman legions, they had to have chaplains, for example, for both types of believers, et cetera, et cetera. So everybody picks what they want you to know, and then they discourage you reading what they don't want you to know.
Those are the books I like.
Yeah.
I think the book, The Spanish Influenza, might be on YouTube as an audio book also. What was your source on the two groups of Roman legions for that? Was that Christians and pagans?
That's a good question.
I think it was in Christians and Pagans, which was a book club selection many years ago, one of those $40 books I read.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably, I think the book that I probably read most of that on is something that I found on either Google Books or Gutenberg, Project Gutenberg, or something like that.
Yeah.
I can't remember the
we
name
have
of the
those?
book. I can't remember the name of that book. I can find it, but there's stuff like this. Frankly, even in the encyclopedias of Christianity, most of them, like the big encyclopedias from the late 19th century, namely, and the early 20th century, Hastings Dictionary of Religion and Ethics, and
Yes.
McClintock and Strong's, and Schaff Herzog. Those people were all Trinitarians. So the information on anti-Trinitarianism is not comprehensive at all. So, and so most of that really good anti-Trinitarian stuff, you have to dig for it, and then you start finding out that there is a little bit more to all of this than what meets the eye.
Yeah.
Ron, what do you? Hope I'm not interrupting Pixie.
Oh no.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Ron, what do you think about the future? Meaning, more or less, do you think we're near the end of? I don't know. End of the age, end of the world. What do you think? What do you think about the future?
Well, probably wake up in the morning and the whole world will be in ashes or something. But I'm going to say tonight, no, I don't think. I don't think we're anywhere. Let me put it this way: if the idea in God's mind is to wait until mankind has gone so far that everything is so completely buggered that it's obvious that he has to step in and fix it. That may be his ultimate strategy. I'm going to let these fools fiddle with artificial intelligence and screwing around with the genome and all this other stuff. And then when they've created an apocalypse of their own making, then I'll step in and fix it. If that's his end game, that we've got to go as far as we can go, then I think we've got to experience artificial intelligence and all of this, those types of things where we're screwing around with genetic engineering and all of that. And then maybe he'll say, okay, enough is enough. I don't know. So that's a few years left. But other than that, no, this business of thinking that the end is right now, it's people do it all the time. It's because they just don't like what's going on, and they can list off all the reasons why this has got to be it. And then, sure enough, we look back. I guess that wasn't so bad, and we forge on to the next blunder. So
You're more hopeful than I am, Brian. I hope you're right. You're more hopeful than I am. I don't think the cavalry's coming. And I cry about the oceans, which is in Revelation. I cry about our seas and oceans.
I despair of some things. Like right now, having been living in the 20th century and then into this century, and always trusting that America is going to make things okay in the world. Now, I mean, don't be surprised if states don't start opting out, and next thing you know, that your country is split in half.
Well, we try for you up there. We're trying down here.
The division is so terrible that and empires rise and fall. That's the story of
we know that as historians, don't we?
Yeah, of history. So we'll see what happens. We're right in the middle of something big that I think. But
certainly the end of civilization, if it's not the biblical end. I don't see much civilization, and I grew up in a wonderful corner of the world. I heard something the other day that there's going to be more censorship after August, and I didn't get all the details on it, but it's been fun while it lasted.
What was it like when you grew up, Pixie? You know,
I grew up in a little neighborhood that we just got a subway train yesterday, so we'll be part of the bigger town. But growing up was chicken dinner on Sunday, neighbors that were very friendly, a very high standard of living for most of us, nice party dresses. I could walk to the Kingdom Hall. I could walk to my elementary school. It was, the first part of my life was idyllic.
I hear you. I believe you.
And we played in the yard.
Yeah, go ahead, Pixie.
We played in the yard till the lights went out.
I hear you.
Or the lights came on. The street lights came on, and we had to go in.
A lot better times.
Well, there were problems. It wasn't without problems. The Vietnam War was from my first grade to my 12th grade.
Yeah. That will give me a way to figure out how old you are. I'm going to figure that out.
I'm older than time. And all my suitors, there were so many fine young men that would have been my suitors, slightly older than me. And you know, then feminism came in. But feminism was sold to us because we had to go out and work.
Right.
So I have the 50s world and the 60s world. I'm in between those two worlds.
I hear you. And women proved they could do about anything.
We could, but it's been real lonely without the men at the kitchen table. Men suffered too. Not only those young men that gave their lives, but our civilization never really returned to, I mean, there's been pluses to it. For instance, when I was a little elementary school child, I heard that there was an older girl in the neighborhood and she had to give her baby away. That isn't done now, so that's a plus. Okay?
How do you think the Watchtower treats women?
Oh, don't get me started. I could write a book. Write a book.
Second class, I guess.
Oh, it's like a feudal system. It's like might as well be. We have everything but the shadar. You know, the burqa.
Yeah, the Muslim women wear.
And I was a very skinny. I was a very beautiful child and a beautiful teen, but I was very skinny. I did not have curves. I had a ballet body. And I had this elder tell me, you know, well, you shouldn't show so much. I had nothing to show. So they'll pick a woman apart.
Yeah. Yeah, I've noticed some of it myself. I've been away for a long time.
I don't miss it.
Yeah. My wife and I never had any problem about that, she had to straighten me out a lot. We battled quite a bit, not physical battle, but arguments. We haven't had any arguments in quite a while.
That's good.
But you know, most of the time she ended up being right. And women, women can do, I guess, just about anything.
Just about.
Out in the world. And that's one thing that confuses me to some extent because of the Bible. everything's male, 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 except for, women are mentioned in high esteem, but they're sort of put in the background, it looks like, in the scriptures. But here in the real world, that's always been a confusing thing for me, because I've seen women, about any woman can do just about anything if she's got the opportunity.
Even in the Old Testament, which was so very long ago, we had deaconesses. There was the lady that sold the purple dye and cloth. There were, when you really go back and reread the Old Testament, Mary Magdalene was right there with the guys. There's a book, Who Cooked the Last Supper? It's a witty title, but look back at the first century again. Jesus was very egalitarian to women for a man of his environment.
Oh yeah.
He talked to the woman at the well, and again the deaconesses, the women that were supportive of the congregation. They're mentioned by name. So they, the Watchtower needs to look again. And I mentioned last week they had a Watchtower that had a beautiful resurrection painting with the two women that were at the tomb. And for about 6 months or a year back in the 90s, it looked like the Watchtower was really going to go with some of that equality and things, and then it just quit. So I think sometimes they get somebody in the writing department or the art department, and they get a little bit of progress, and now it's worse than it was in the 90s.
I hear you. Yeah, I don't have any idea what's going on at the Watchtower except being on 6 screens. I'm getting they come out with a new brochure, pamphlet or brochure. I'm not sure exactly what it is. I haven't got it yet. Somebody sent it to me, and it's not been handed to me yet. That will, when they bring groceries over. I don't get mail here where I'm at, but some kind of new brochure or pamphlet. I don't know what it's about.
I haven't seen any of that. I just know that it's very, very sad with the blood issue, because many of the members that die are women who go through labor. And they die, and it leaves an orphan. And what could be sadder than that?
That's very sad.
And so when you look at what situations would need the blood transfusion, that gets real sad.
Oh, it does. Yeah. I had a blood transfusion from my dad, and I definitely would not have been here, because when I got to the hospital, according to the doctor, they could not get a pulse, could not feel a pulse. I have no idea what my blood pressure was. I don't remember if he said what it was. But it was an emergency surgery, ruptured spleen, and I've been bleeding for, I don't know how many hours. Probably, I'd say at least 6 hours. But anyway, yeah, I wouldn't have been here. Of course, the world might have been a better place. I don't know.
Well, welcome back.
Well, thank you. And
but that you look at some of these issues, and it's not doctrinal. I mean, we can, of course, wrangle with Trinitarians and non-Trinitarians. We could wrangle doctrine all day long, but the situation with the witnesses, it's how the children are treated and abused physically, sexually, how women are treated, the blood issue, the lack of education, the shunning, the kangaroo courts, the money. There's a top 10 issues, extorting property from older members. I've got a top 10 there, and doctrine isn't even in it.
I know. I have a bad habit for that. On these other conference calls, we get on there and argue. We're friends, but we get on there and argue. No one gets mad about it. It's always doctrine, or some.
Well, we were trained to do it.
Yeah, I know. Some of these guys have come up with new ideas, and I welcome new ideas. And it's all interesting to me. But anyway, we all get along. But I bring it to six screens too sometimes. Argumentative, like you say.
Okay.
I've been.
I'm okay. You're okay.
Thank you. I've been.
And that's that's a healthy spot to be in. I'm okay. You're okay.
Yeah. It's like with the Trinity people that Trinitarians. I don't truly. I don't worry about it. It may turn out sometime in the future they got the right view of things. It could be. I'm that open-minded about it.
I just hope there's an afterlife. I have no assurance of that. I did hospice for 3 family members, and I've witnessed other deaths as well. And I just hope there's an afterlife.
I do too. I do too. I tell you a little secret. I talked with Brian about this and a lot of other things. But I've had a struggle to keep faith in God all through, really, as far back as really I can think. When it's at points in time, especially with the dealing with evil and God's appointed time to deal with it and all of that. And I still would wonder, how do you let this happen? How can you let certain things happen? And so I've had I still struggle with it to a degree.
What is it the poet said? Life is brutish and short.
Yes, that's it. Brutish and short.
And
a short life of trouble.
So I hope there's an afterlife. I can't prove it. I can't argue it either way. I think it's great when people have faith in it. I think it makes it easier on your personal last day if you do have a faith. Hospice workers will tell you that. But I think atheists are brave for facing the pit. As Marcus Aurelius said, atheism is not new. He was an ancient Roman, and he said he had bravery and he would face the pit. And if his friends said things about him after he was gone, that was enough. And that's coming from an ancient Roman. So all these ideas that we roll around, none of them are new. People have wondered about all this stuff for a long time.
Amen. Now, Christopher Hitchens, he's been dead for, I don't know how long.
Oh, I can't stand to listen to him for 10 minutes, and I gave him a chance.
Yeah, well, he's pretty brilliant guy, a big talker, and he's not stupid, but I remember him saying one time that he don't, if there is a God, I can't quote him word for word, but he wouldn't want there to be a God because he doesn't want to be judged by that God. And he gave the illustration of having sex. He don't want a God in heaven watching him have sex and judging him about it. Now, I hear what he's saying.
It's bad enough when your partner
judges. Even scoring one time is hilarious to me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, Kurt. It's bad enough when your partner judges you. Let alone.
Oh yeah, that's bad enough. That's a low blow right there. But yeah, I mean, it's not that we don't understand what he was saying, but I don't understand the depth of it really. I guess he's just one of those people that I don't know if you could call it arrogance. I don't know what word to put on it, but he is happy to live his life as full as he can, which he should. He's not a Bible believer, so
all we can do is live life as full as we can. That's the only choice we really have.
Right. And if you believe the scriptures, then you've got certain barriers. You've got certain rules. If you believe that they are inspired.
But an atheist would still be moral and ethical. I saw a wonderful little letter to the editor in 17 magazine one time. and it was this little virgin girl writing to 17 magazine. And she said that she had good morality, but she was an atheist. But she was still going to have a good moral code because it made sense for her path in life.
I believe that.
I was impressed by that. That we want to be honest and decent because it's a good path, no matter whether there's an afterlife or not.
Well, I told someone on Six Screen years and years ago, Utah Dan, I think I probably offended him. He lived out there in Idaho, or Utah, I'm sorry, Utah. And he was on the program for a long time. And we argued around about things. But I remember him saying that he's filled with the Holy Spirit, which that's fine. I mean, if he is, who am I to say? But I asked him, how do you know that you're filled with the Holy Spirit? And he explained to me that he had the fruits of the Spirit. I said, well, that's a good answer. That's a good answer. I said, but let me make a suggestion, and I could be wrong about this. I said, an atheist, those 9 fruits of the Spirit, an atheist, I would guess, I don't know this completely is true, but I would guess that somewhere out there in the world, there's an atheist somewhere that has those fruits
perhaps
of the Spirit. Not that they're coming from the Holy Spirit, but they have that nature. They have the, the self-control and the other 9, love and long-suffering and all that. They may have those qualities. I don't know that. I met a few atheists in my time who were really nice people, really friendly and friendly
I've
people.
met some humanitarians that were really good people, and they were atheists.
Oh, yeah.
You want to know a little secret from hospice work?
What's that?
We're all filled with light.
I hear you.
We literally have electricity in our bodies and in our brains, and we're all full of light. And sadly, someday we have a personal last day, and on the personal last day, the light literally goes out.
I believe that.
So when the Bible says in a twinkling of an eye, it's true, and it's physically, medically true.
I believe that.
And that is the truth. Yes. That is the truth.
Yes.
Now the mystery I have is how do we get here and what are we? And an artist friend of mine gave me a science book called The 5 Eves. And it was so interesting. Now, if I'm understanding the science right, all men, males, are truly in a brotherhood of males because they all have the same mitochondrial DNA that their father had and their father before them and their father before them, all the way back to Adam. Okay?
Okay.
A literal genetic brotherhood of man, which is cool.
Yeah.
But there are 5 mitochondrial DNAs in human women from 5 different regions of planet Earth. Isn't that interesting?
It's interesting, and I did not know it.
The book is called The 5 Eves, and it was easy to read, very scientific, very factual, and it changed my perception of how the world is and why there's so many wonderful different varieties on Earth of people.
I'll look on YouTube for it. The 5 Eves. The 5 Eves. I got it. I'll look on
5 Eves. Yeah, but we don't know how we got here. We don't know if there's 2 accounts of Genesis. Just taking the Bible, this you read Genesis and it switches and the different pronouns and stuff. We don't know where Cain got his wife and all this stuff. But I read 5 Eves and I'm like, well, that's pretty good. Maybe that's helpful.
I hear you.
But I do not think we evolved from pond scum. No, I think we were created somehow, some way, similar to how we are now.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I'm confused. at this point, I'm sort of walled in, maybe in a way, where I think that the scriptures are the authority, and anything else, although the scriptures leave a lot of unanswered questions, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah, it's not a science book. It gives a hint.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree.
Now, the guy that got the Nobel Prize last year was about Neanderthal DNA.
Right,
and I'm a European, I'm American, but I'm a European person. And they think that the Neanderthals were probably pretty much just like I am sitting here talking to you.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And he got the Nobel Prize for Neanderthal DNA, and they depict them as, you know, stooped over and everything. Well, they had arthritis real bad. They were in caves, and the real mystery question is, what was the civilization like before they had to flee into the cave?
Good question. And Homo sapiens replaced the. Homo sapiens? Had they risen along with the Neanderthal?
It's looking like that. Back to this 5 Eves thing. It's looking like there were several different people groups. And it's looking like there was an ice age, and the European people that look like me fled into the caves. They were not dumb and brutish. They were smart. It snowed and there was ice, and they fled into those caves. Before that, there was a civilization, probably like Babylon and Sumer, but they're finding civilizations older than the pyramids off the coast of Egypt and in Turkey and off the coast of India.
Yeah, I know it. Yeah.
So these cave people were not the first people. They were just these Europeans that were getting warm and trying to stay alive.
Yeah. And there are theistic evolutionists that believe, I don't know all their details of it, but they believe that millions of years ago, the Earth, 4.5 billion years old, and millions of years ago, life was started by a God, and and God allowed it to go through the evolutionary development, and then the world was destroyed. Some of these evolutionists believe the Earth was destroyed, and then Adam, the pre-Adamic races. There's a lot of ideas about these things. But
some of that could have some things going, but look at the new archaeology stuff. Look at 5 Eves. Look at some of that. And there's a lot they have not told us that they're not sure of either.
I know it. And this Dr. William Lane Craig, a year or so ago, I don't know if you ever watched him or not, but he's a big Bible apologist. But he, about a year ago, probably a little longer, a year and a few months, he came up and announced the idea. He now believes that Adam could have been created, Adam and Eve, 500,000 to 750,000 years ago.
I think it's all much older.
He has it all figured out. And he believes the first 11 chapters of Genesis is, there's a name for it. It's literary, mythical, literary. Maybe I'm getting that wrong.
Allegory. Allegory.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. So I don't know.
I'm going to have to probably. I'm going to pick somebody up here, and then I'll be booking off probably at least for an hour or so.
We'll have a good night.
Okay, Brian.
I tell you, but I did want to ask. I did want to just posit a couple of. I'll set a few smoke bombs off before I go. One is Pixie. You were saying earlier. You were talking about the nice atheist, the moral atheist, and the atheists do bring this up all the time.
Not all of them are. I'm not saying all of them are. I know a couple that are
I'm just saying
humanitarian.
this is Dawkins' argument and Hitchens' argument in her books, and that's fine. I agree that anybody can be nice, and like Kurt said, there's all this possibility of somebody having all those fruits of the spirit. That's true. However, something that you said a little bit earlier, Dixie, is you described your idyllic childhood. It could have been a description of my own.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly the same adjectives would be used for my childhood.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that time has disappeared largely because of the emptying of the churches.
Well, my family, of course, were good witnesses and good Christians, and the neighbors on my side of the street were. But the man across the street was very kind to me, and he told me he was an atheist. So he was just as good of a neighbor as the others.
Well, exactly. But the whole culture was permeated with this ethic that is going away right
We've got to have ethics, and we've got to have civics. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it was the spirit of the times was a culture completely tinctured by Christian principle.
But then when we go back to World War II,
up and down our block, we considered the other parents on the block that we had to be obedient to them as well, because there was a community. All this leftist talk about, we need more community, we need more community. They're the ones that are tearing it down. We had it.
We had community. We sure did. We had respect for diversity. I had Jewish neighbors, Greek neighbors. I had all kinds of neighbors that didn't look a thing like me, and they all taught me how to cook.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. So the point, what I'm getting at here is that's my first smoke bomb, is that I do think that this attack, a wholesale attack by the left on Christianity in a million different ways that they're doing it. They just hate Christ. They hate the moral code of the West, and they're very foolish. They haven't read any history, and they hate America. So anyway,
I guess that would be a way to get a collapse, wouldn't it? If you wanted to, if not you personally or me personally, if a group wanted to have chaos and collapse, I guess that would fuel them, wouldn't it?
Yeah. And the other thing is something that you said, Kurt. This is about the problem of evil and the whole idea that maybe nothing is really going on out there, that we are just a bunch of complicated chemicals working together. Now, I don't believe that, because there's just too much that needs to happen to make all of this life. But Robert Kennedy Jr., I think it's Robert Kennedy Jr. He's announced he's running for president. He says that the CIA killed JFK. And we were talking today, my son and I, about the fact that whenever somebody becomes president, for some reason I mentioned Area 54 to him today. And he said, oh yeah, and then he got on this thing. Every president basically says the same thing. Trump said he would release everything. He didn't do it. Somehow he got stopped from releasing everything. And Jimmy Carter was elected. It was one of his planks on his platform. Now, Carter's personal assistant, I forget the guy's name, not his chief of staff in the White House, but he had a personal assistant, which was a friend and a personal assistant. This guy says that he was in a White House briefing room where I don't know exactly who it was, but somebody, the discussion came up with all of these various things about aliens visiting and all of that, that what it will prove if you let it out. The aliens have proof. They're here now, and they will tell us that all religion that we have on Earth today, all religions are just fake things that they started, that aliens started. And that Carter, he also decided, okay, I can't let this out. And I forget this guy's name. It was his personal assistant, not his chief of staff. He claims he was in the Oval Office or the Situation Room or whatever when this discussion finally happened, and that's why Carter didn't release everything. We don't know why Trump didn't. Trump was elected on that, one of the things that he was going to do. But anyway, those are my two smoke bombs. I got to pick this.
That's kind of interesting. I wonder if Krishna was an alien. You got me thinking Hinduism now.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Brian.
Anyway, I'm going
Thank you,
for
Brian.
pizza.
Have a good night.
I'm gonna go for pizza, and I might check back in an hour or two.
I'll probably be sleeping. I'll be sleeping. Have a good night.
Safe. Drive safe.
Okay. Pixie,
yeah.
I'm on my third time I've rotated these cordless phones. I've got two old cordless phones, but each have a charging base, and they're good for about 45 minutes, maybe an hour when they're fully charged.
Oh, well, I'm going to let you go then. Let me tell you Hinduism in 30 seconds, though. I just learned this because I didn't know anything about Hinduism. Arjuna has an archer. He's an archer, and he has a bow and arrow. And he's in battle with a bow and arrow, and the battle stops. And Krishna comes down in a cloud and says, "Hi, I'm Krishna." And he says, "Oh, you must be a deity." He says, "Yes." He says, "We're all one. Every human is connected to every other human. There's peace, harmony, and everything's great, and you get lifetime after lifetime." And Arjuna says, "Well, that's wonderful and mystical, and I feel that oneness." And he says, "Okay." And then Arjuna goes back into battle again. Now, isn't that the human condition?
Yes, it is. I heard every word of that. And I don't want to be negative, but I'll ask you, this Lord Krishna is male, but if I got my facts straight, he's male. It's a male. I could be confused here, but if it is a male, to me he looks like a female. Is it?
He does, and I don't really know any more about Hinduism than what I shared with you. I didn't have a file card on Hinduism, and when I heard that story, I said, "Okay, at least I know what the premise is."
I hear you. We'll talk about it more. Yeah, we'll talk
and again, they found this temple that's real super old, so it goes way back. But I think comparative religion is interesting. I think it's great that we have a Redeemer in Christ and we can be Christians. I hope it's all true. I hope we get an afterlife. But I find being here on Earth learning about stuff is just keeping me going.
I hear you.
Have a good night.
I'm telling you the truth about my phones. I used the cordless because you can hear me better. Now, tomorrow, these cordless phones will be fully charged in preparation for the 2 o'clock program. And her program is for an hour. So I should be okay with these 2 cordless phones. But if it goes on, you know, if I'm on a program like Pasta Babe and I'm on these phones, these cordless phones for, I don't know, 3 hours or something, I start having a lot of problems because I'm switching back and forth. And when I go to the landline phone, you just don't hear me as well, even with that headset on. But anyway, I'll let you go. I hope.
Well, see if you can get, if you're under a certain income, see if you can get a free phone too. Check it out.
I'll check it out.
Okay, have a good night. Bye.
Good night. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Sounds like they both hung up. And as I was listening, it also sounded like their connection was getting kind of cut off a little bit. And I'm not sure why that was happening, but it was. Does anybody else have anything that they wanted to bring up and talk about tonight? We're almost going to be hitting the 4 o'clock hour in about 15 minutes. And that's been a good amount of time. I've been listening to the conversations as I was taking a little break, and they were pretty cool. Listening to Pixie and Kurt just talk back and forth about different things that they were very familiar with. I love listening to the conversations that flow like that. I absolutely love it. But I also noticed in the chat that a few people were reading books that they are reading. GUSA said she's reading a book about Gary Wayne called The Genesis 6 Conspiracy, and she also said that she's going to read Robert Kennedy's book he did about a year or so ago back. And those people that loves to read, I like to read Audible books or listen to Audible books. But yeah, thank you, GUSA. Yeah, I do think I'm going to call it a night. Today is May 21st, 2023, and this show started on May 20th, on Saturday, May 20th, 2023. I thank you so much that all of you showed up for the chat and the room for, I forget what that's called, the chat room for the suite, and all of the other. I'm really, really thankful that you showed up. And, you know, I tell you this every week, but I truly mean it. This is a highlight of my week, and I'm just very thankful for you. I'm thankful that you allow me to share my opinions and that you allow me to host this show for you. And I love the fact that I love to hear the conversations that just automatically flow and the things that we in each other think it's cool. So I just want to thank you, all of you that showed up tonight. And I will be seeing you next weekend. So this is Apostle Babe Linda James, your favorite apostate. And I'm going to also ask that you like and please share it. And let's see if we can get a larger audience for this particular show. If you would like, I would appreciate it. Okay. So now, Swedish. Good.
Uh-huh. Okay.